Well, hi, everybody. Things are improving as the shower threat moves out of the state, and I think we could even see a little bit of sun before this day is over. Cooler today with a high in the mid-60s, partly cloudy, colder tonight, overnight low 36. We should see a decent amount of sunshine on Friday with a high up to about 64. Then warmer Saturday with a high around 75. Risk of showers begins in the afternoon, but showers and locally severe thunderstorms Saturday evening and Saturday night. And again, another tornado risk. We'll be watching this storm system carefully, of course. Then sharply colder behind it on Sunday and Monday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
1819 News.
Another special election will be needed to fill a state lawmaker's seat. This comes after State Representative Randall Shedd announced this week he will be resigning from that position to join the staff of the Senate President Pro Tem. Garland Gudger is the new Senate President Pro Tem. He was voted into that position at the start of this year. Gudger says that Shedd is a responsive, hardworking, and tenacious state lawmaker who will bring those qualities to the Pro Tem's office. Shedd came to the Alabama House through a special election held back in 2013. Before that, he was the chairman of the Coleman County Commission, and before that, the mayor of Fairview. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Brian Dawson here, CEO of 1819 News. I'm also the host of 1819 News, the podcast, and we'd love for you to join us by listening to our weekly show on all the top podcast apps, both in audio and video format. At 1819 News, the podcast, we are in pursuit of a free and flourishing Alabama. Every week, we're having important conversations with guests from across this great state, all with the goal of equipping Alabamians to be in pursuit of a free and flourishing Alabama with us. New episodes are released weekly. I hope you'll join us.
A traffic stop in Priceville results in 2 arrests and the seizure of illegal drugs. The traffic stop occurred on Wednesday night with a canine unit finding a mixture of meth and fentanyl inside the vehicle. Norberto Montalbán Nava and Luciana Guarda are now facing drug charges, with Guarda also being placed on an immigration hold. The Daleville High School Band from the Wiregrass region in Alabama is headed to the country of Italy next month. The Pride of the South Band will be playing in Florence and Venice as part of a cultural exchange with Italian students. This exchange is part of the World Strides organization. The Pride of the South has played in other venues throughout the U.S. and Canada, but this will be their first time playing in Europe. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For years, I've been asking you to call me at Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. When you call Alabama Home Mortgage, from the moment we pick up the phone, you will hear the difference. We are passionate about what we do. To us, you're not just another applicant. When you call on us, you are trusting that we have your best interest at heart, and we do. We treat our customers like family, and that's why our customers turn into family, coming back to us time and time again. We know you have many options when it comes to mortgage financing, and we appreciate the opportunity to earn your business. We are excited to hear from you. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Our passion is just one difference that sets us apart from the rest. It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586 368, Equal Housing Lender.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is a Trump country. We live in the Southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program here on a lovely Thursday, at least compared to the days we just had here in Montgomery. I'm your host, Joey Clark, and guest hosting with me today, we have the great Andrew Terrell. He is the auditor for the state of Alabama. How you doing today, sir?
Very well, man. It's been a while since I've been on with you. Good to be back.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Also, Byron Sheehy here in the studio. How you doing today?
Just in the nick of time.
I know. Perfect timing.
Yes, sir.
And there's so much to get to today. We were just talking off air, like, where do we even begin on this? But on Thursdays, we generally begin. And gentlemen, feel free to jump in with all the guests. Jeff Dice coming up later today, around a little after 2 o'clock. Erica Thomas, editor-at-large at 1819 News, is joining us. Hey, Erica, how you doing today?
Howdy, Joey. I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
I'm all right. We're surviving. So how are you holding up with this breakneck pace of the news these days?
Well, it seems like it's the same story every day, just in a different location, especially with the Trump administration's immigration raids that have been going on. They're really taking care of business down here in South Alabama, and I've had several stories this week pertaining to that. They're getting these violent, illegal aliens off the streets every day, and there's multiple arrests each day.
And this is one in particular, the latest one you reported on, it's called Operation Jamaican Nights.
Yes, Operation Jamaican Nights actually started a couple of months ago. They've been investigating a fraudulent lottery scam that several suspects were involved in, according to the FBI and Homeland Security. Also, Baldwin County Sheriff's Office assisted in this investigation, and then the Foley Police Department also assisted in the arrest. And those arrests started on Friday when they arrested 4 suspects. I'm not even going to try to say their names, but it's all on 1819news.com, which I definitely suggest heading over to see some of these stories. But then yesterday we had a 5th suspect arrested in connection to Operation Jamaican Nights, and that happened after a very dangerous police chase right through the middle of Gulf Shores.
And then, of course, we've got, this was Calera Police. They found arrested illegal aliens with 46 pounds of cocaine. It's a lot of cocaine.
Cocaine, yeah, lots. There's an image on our website of what that looks like exactly, and when you see that, you realize, well, this is a lot. Because when you say 46 pounds, it does sound like a lot, but when you see the image, it's wow. But yeah, the interesting part about this story to me is that they pulled this vehicle over for not having a tag light, and so a simple minor traffic violation turned into this massive drug bust. Police Chief David Height said he was thankful that his officers are being proactive in that way, because a lot of times law enforcement is criticized for pulling over people for simple violations, but there are reasons we have laws, and no matter how big or small it is, you know, these police officers are going to be proactive, and they're going to make these minor traffic stops. So I think that was interesting. And the other thing that was interesting is one of the suspects had pending charges out of Fulton County, Georgia, that were from a narcotics case. So these people should not have been on the streets anyways.
Well, and I think it's just common knowledge now, if you think about it for a second, that we're a nice stop on the way to Atlanta and some other major metro areas, 65, 85, that interchange there. I don't know how much stops here. I'm sure some, but it being a major, say, part of the path that we might be traveling, you got to wonder how much is flowing through Alabama, even if it's just in transit.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's a lot. And I've always heard that about I-20, but Chief Height said if they chose I-65 to avoid heavy drug interdiction areas, then it didn't work out for them.
And then, as you mentioned, the FBI has been conducting immigration raids there in Baldwin and as well as Lee County. Um, are we seeing much cooperation or pushback from local authorities, or mostly staying out of the way?
They're actually assisting. Many times when you see these raids happening, the local authorities are on the scene. They're helping. You know, they're more familiar with many of these areas. People that may work for the FBI in Mobile might not know so much about the Lee County area. So you'll see the sheriff's offices and the local police departments helping out. They also process them, you know, when they take them to jail. One of the latest ones around here was at a D.R. Horton subdivision that's being built in Spanish Fort. It's called the Stonebridge community. And so we've seen a lot of these larger subdivisions that are being built. The people working there are part of what's being targeted. And it's important to mention, though, a lot of these larger home builders, like D.R. Horton is the largest in the nation. They subcontract a lot of their work, so they're not going to be responsible for who's actually building the homes on these properties. But it's just another example of, you know, how the construction business will definitely be impacted by these raids, even if they're just getting the violent offenders off the streets first. We've already seen a large reduction in local workforces when it comes to these subdivisions. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and what the implications of that will be.
Now, one issue folks might suspect is on the back burner because of the massive victory for Trump in last November is this idea of voter integrity. But you recently were reporting on Secretary of State Wes Allen meeting with both Senators, Britt and Tuberville. I guess this was the National Association of Secretaries of State, that big conference. And it looks like now that you have a Republican president or Republican Congress that certain, say, blocks in the way, certain laws at the federal level might be on the chopping block that allow for more voter integrity within the states and just a new regime that might balance out concerns a little more.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see how these challenges play out. But Secretary of State Wes Allen, you know, from the very beginning when he was first elected, he went after the ERIC program, which I did extensive reporting on that program before it was pulled and before even the election. So voter integrity is something that Alabama has definitely been focused on. And Wes Allen said when he was able to go to this conference in D.C., he was also able to hear of what other states are doing and kind of get a roundabout idea, different ways to combat any type of voter fraud, because the way that our elections are held there's just so many ways, so many loopholes that people could go through. We really do have to keep a good eye on what's going on in our elections. And I think this last election is an example of when people are watching, things can be stopped. And so in November, when the election was ongoing, there were several groups nationwide poll watching. And as soon as they saw something that might not be on the up and up, they called and they had attorneys on standby ready to take action. And that happened. And so, you know, this might be the new way that we hold elections, where you just have to watch so close.
Indeed. Well, I appreciate your reporting as always, and great to have you back on the show, Eric. I missed you last week, but let's do this again soon. And if folks want to check out what you're writing about or have any leads or stories, want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Definitely head over to 1819news.com. It's not just me. Our team is incredible. You know, we're in Montgomery during this legislative session, and they are covering every nook and cranny of what's going on. So if you want to know what lawmakers are doing, what they are considering, you know, what you need to get ahead on, what you might need to contact your local lawmaker about, go to 1819news.com. Check out our stories every day. They are just doing an incredible job from the session.
Well, appreciate it as always. We'll do it again soon. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you. God bless.
Again, folks, that is Erica Thomas, editor-at-large there at 1819news.com. Again, we have the great auditor here for the great state of Alabama. I'm saying great too much, but I think it applies. Andrew Sorrell here in the studio.
Yeah. Don't oversell me, Joey.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So it's been a while since we talked, especially not even just in terms of the calendar, but just how much has happened. And so I kind of want to give you the floor of your sense of what's happening in our nation right now. And then maybe we'll get into how maybe this mood will go and impact Alabama somewhat. We'll see, I suppose. But what do you think of this whole moment now that Trump is in office and been in there for a few weeks now?
I think it's interesting that you haven't seen the trickle down of some of Trump's DOGE efforts to Alabama. Now, I know the Alabama Policy Institute has started their version of DOGE, and people are submitting ideas to them on how we can save the state money. And in fact, I've submitted an idea to Stephanie Smith on how we can save money. And I have several more I probably need to send her. But I'm glad for API, but what I haven't seen is anybody in state government really doing that. And I know, see, I read 1819, I read what you write, and I know you had an article on the organization that Senator Orr created a few years ago. Yeah, Alabama Commission on the Evaluation of Services. Now, most people don't even know that this thing exists. And I'll be quite honest with you, I didn't know the thing existed until about 2 years ago. And I had the idea I was going to form, this is DOGE before DOGE existed, right? I didn't call it DOGE, but when I was elected auditor, one of my ideas was I'm going to get a bill through that's going to give my office the ability to go in and investigate state government spending and look for ways we can cut waste. And then I was informed we already have that. And I said, that's news to me. And they said, yeah, it's ACES. Well, then I met the guy who runs ACES. There's, I think, 3 or 4 employees who work at ACES. And I said, well, that's great. I mean, I'm glad they're doing some work, but they're not making headlines like DOGE is. Like every time I get on Fox News, it's like, oh, we're secretly funding terrorist groups or something with our DOGE money. So that's out there. And in Alabama, like when have you ever heard of ACES coming out and saying we can save the state money by doing X, Y, or Z?
Right.
So I'm not saying that what they're doing isn't useful. It's probably good, but I don't think it's a large enough scale. I don't think it's what we need. And then you look at our budgets, and our budgets are continuing to explode. We had a budget that was $2 billion in 2018. This year's is $3.7 billion. By the way, I've only requested a 3% increase in our budget. The governor gave us a 1% increase. I talked it over with my staff, and we said, yeah, I think we can live with that. So we're only getting an extra 1%, which is less than the rate of inflation. So we're not the ones contributing to the larger budget there. But surely there's some waste in $3.7 billion. Then over on the education side, it's swelled to $9.9 billion. I remember having heartburn voting for, $6.5, $7 billion budgets when I was in the legislature, which was not very long ago. And in fact, I voted against 5 of the 8 budgets, which was a very controversial thing to do at the time in the legislature. The funny thing is, when I go to Farmers Federation meetings, when I go to Eagle Forum meetings, when I'm speaking to these groups, and we're talking about state government spending, and I tell them I voted no on a budget, I've never had a citizen be mad about that.
Right. Well, nobody's put up a billboard being like, you're taking away our money. Nobody's ever attacked you in that way.
No, I mean, I've had a few, what I would say call special interest groups contact me that are upset that I voted no on the budget, which I still don't understand why they're upset. The budget was still passed 104-1, so I don't know what the big deal was. But as far as ordinary citizens, man, they didn't care at all. They're like, great, thank you for trying to be responsible with our money. Now, in other ways, the state is on board. I mean, our state is not fighting immigration like New York is doing right now. I think the Trump administration is suing New York for not cooperating. They've gone from just being sanctuary cities and saying we're not going to help you enforce to no, we're going to actively oppose you and impede you from collecting the illegals. And that's got to be against the law. There's no way they get away with that.
Absolutely, it's against the law. I don't know if y'all saw Pam Bondi's press conference yesterday about that. Brought up one of the mothers who had lost a child. I believe her daughter, who was only 20 years old. I think the story goes along where this guy, he was a teenager, but he was clearly part of MS-13. If they had just done a little bit of looking, they would have discovered this, figured this out. But HHS cleared him as like, no, he seemed like a nice young man. And so he gets into the country with a sponsor because he's a minor, he's a teenager, but hardened gang member, which folks, I think, sometimes don't wrap their heads around how crazy the gang culture is in South America in particular, and how early and young these kids get into doing awful demonic things to prove themselves. So he gets a sponsor family. They obviously aren't checking in where the kids are ending up. This quote unquote kid then leaves the sponsor family, goes and rents a trailer from another guy who's also illegally in the country, who owns all these trailers and lots. That's where this woman's daughter was also living in Maryland. And within like a day of him moving in there, he kills and rapes her daughter. And so, but he, HHS says he was an all right kid,
Do most of these guys actually have foster families or families that adopt them, or is it more like the nonprofits who get the contracts, or they have some
It's
sort
both. I'd imagine you got to wonder, was this foster family actually family, or was it part of a larger network of,
That's what, yeah.
Well, it could be nonprofit, or it could be it's not even nonprofit. It's just kind of under the wire, like he knew contacts. This is how I get in. Here is Pam Bondi. To your point, Andrew, about New York not upholding the law. Pam Bondi, standing next to that mother I just mentioned, had this to say.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. We're here today because
And she went on and became even more forceful, especially after the mother telling the story in full. And so that's refreshing to see. And yes, Alabama is cooperating with all that. I think, I don't know, is there any legislation being pushed through to even cooperate even more?
Well, there is going to be an immigration package moving through, and I've heard from some insiders who are going to be carrying the bills, and one of those bills that's moving is going to be the Lake and Riley Act. That's going to go through. So we know that Katie Britt got that done, along with, surprisingly, Fetterman.
I know.
And several other Democrats. By the way, Fetterman's coming out and saying some actually pretty reasonable stuff about Trump and whatnot. I don't know. I guess he's worried about his reelection. He saw the
I think we have a little side bet that he may switch parties at some point.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, at some point. I've been saying that Britt and Fetterman in particular are besties for the resties. I mean, they really actually seem like friends. I don't know. I think she visited him in the hospital when he was at Walter Reed. So
yeah, I heard that. All right, look, we don't take him unless he starts wearing suits. That's my only.
And not Canadian tuxedos.
He showed up in a hoodie and shorts the inauguration.
Oh my goodness, dude! You got to look professional if you're going to be a Republican. You can look like some kind of like trans weirdo if you're on the left. You can get away with that. You can't get away with that in a Republican primary. So, but yeah, I think the Lake and Riley Act is going to move here. So Katie Britt got that done at the federal level. We're going to do something like that at the state level too. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil the news anymore, but I do think there's a package coming. Also, in the governor's state of the state, you saw her taking some strong moves on bills that have been stalling in the past couple of years, like the What is a Woman bill.
Right.
Why? Susan DuBose, I congratulated her yesterday. I was up in the gallery watching when her bill passed. And she said, the sad thing is I had to go through 6 public hearings on this bill. Oh, yeah. 6 times she had to be berated in front of this committee by all these trans activists and everything. All she's trying to do is define man and woman in the law. And then the Democrats that were up there arguing with her were making the craziest arguments. So I'm up in the gallery with Candace Brown, who is the mom who was not exempted from jury duty, the breastfeeding mother. So we're waiting. I wanted to introduce her to Susan, and she turns to me and she's like, what are they talking about? Like, this is clearly like one of the Democrats was up there talking about the separation of church and state in the Constitution. And Susan DuBose goes, that's not in the Constitution. And he comes back later and he's like, yeah, and it's in the Constitution. And she's like, what? These people don't know anything. I was like, listen, I hate to tell you, but I think you assume that the constitutional scholars make it to the legislature and the most well-read and well-read. Not always. Sometimes it's just it's the people who can get the votes. That's what it is.
Yeah, right.
For better or for worse, that's what it is.
So that actually passed. That's already on its way to be signed.
It is. The governor put it in the state of the state, said we're going to pass the bill this year. The bill passed the House twice in the last 2 years, died in the Senate. Now, last year, I guess you could blame gambling, but you know how the House did it yesterday? They debated the calendar. The maximum debate on the calendar in the House now is an hour. They debate the bill for an hour, they debate the calendar for an hour, and then they adopt a 10-minute calendar. Now, the 10-minute calendar I saw put to good use back during my term. It was 2022. We had a whole bunch of controversial bills. And if you throw them up on the floor, the Democrats are going to run the clock out on you.
Sure.
And they're going to debate each of these bills for 2 hours. So we did a 10-minute cloture count. That's what it is. It's a full calendar of
So
cloture.
each bill gets 10 minutes.
Yes, maximum 10 minutes. And then when that 10 minutes is up, you debate, you vote on the BIR, you vote on the bill, and you vote on the amendments. Now, they've changed their House rules. There are no amendments on the House floor anymore. Those are, you can make an amendment. You can offer an amendment on the House floor. But the committee amendments that were put on are engrossed into the bill before it goes to the floor. So you don't vote separately on those. So that's kind of sped things up as well. But yeah, they managed to still get, I think, 3 Democrats up there to speak against the What is a Woman bill. Made no sense, and then took a vote on the bill and passed it. But anyway, yes, it's going to the governor's desk. It's finally going to be signed. And good for Susan and good for Senator Weaver. That's great. My question is, they've got other bills they want to do. Why couldn't that have been passed 2 years ago and then they move on and do other good stuff?
I know. It's taken forever. And there's another bill from a local representative, Reed Ingram. It's actually, I learned, got out of committee. And it is a full-on constitutional amendment, which is that's a high bar to pass in both chambers. I guess 3/5,
and high bar to repeal if it ever gets there. It's hard to take back.
And so here's what it would do: it would say you have to have a daily recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer, quote, consistent with Judeo-Christian values, unquote, at the beginning of every school day in Alabama's public schools. It has penalties for violation. It's sort of an add-on to Speaker Ledbetter's legislation that required the pledge at the beginning of each school day, but that didn't have enforcement provisions. And so apparently this one would essentially say the superintendent, or later on the legislature, but the superintendent could pull back as much as, I think, 25% of funding if a particular school district is refusing to have a prayer and pledge. So it's a pretty serious bill, but it is, again, a constitutional amendment. I mean, for folks who haven't worked in the legislature like you have, describe how that is, how difficult it is to get a constitutional amendment even through the legislature before the people even vote.
It's extremely difficult, and it should be. You don't want your constitution to be able to be changed easily. So it's a 3/5 vote, but it is not a 3/5 vote of who's present and voting. It's a 3/5 vote of the entire body. So in other words, assuming 105 reps, you have to have 63 yes votes. So you might only have 97 people there that day, and 63 of them have to vote yes. Now, Republicans have 76 in their caucus right now. So even if 8 or 10 are absent, they're usually okay to pass a constitutional amendment. But then it requires the same thing upstairs. And we saw this last year. A good illustration is gambling. Gambling came 1 vote short. So they had a majority vote. They had something like a 57, 58% vote in the Senate in favor of the gambling bill, but they didn't have the one other vote they needed to get it to the 3/5.
There you go. And I mean, what do we think of the underlying concept here of bringing a mandatory? It's like you must have the pledge and prayer at the beginning of a school day.
Democrats don't have any problem mandating we use gender preferred pronouns.
There you go.
I'm a contrarian. Anytime somebody tells me what I'm going to do, I have a hard time doing it. I'd like to think that people are just going to stand up and do it because it's the right thing.
Right.
But we know how that often works.
Here's the question. What if it mandates that it be done, but it probably doesn't? I haven't read the bill, but I'm assuming it doesn't mandate participation. So if a student didn't want to participate in the prayer, they wouldn't be required to. I'm speculating here, but I assume.
I'd imagine this is like, you have your announcements at the beginning of the day. We're going to do the pledge and prayer. And if somebody doesn't want to, you can't force somebody to say words. I don't think that's part of it. I think the enforcement part is on the actual school leadership. Well, so if y'all are not even providing that.
Allowing the time for the students to do that, I see no problem with that at all. It should be encouraged.
Well, it's like the announcements. No, you can't make the kids listen to the announcements either.
Right. And I don't know. I grew up 12 years private Catholic school, so prayer and pledge was just a common thing every day. Maybe if this had been presented to me 5 years ago, and certainly before that, I'd be like, nah, man, because what exact prayer are you going to do? And how's this all going to get tied up? But given to your point, what we've seen being pushed on kids in the name of public education, claiming these are just nonpartisan, educators and administrators that really care about the kids being enlightened. No, you've crossed over into a territory where this is not neutral ground. And so if these public institutions aren't actually neutral ground, what should they be? They should reflect the will of the people of this state, including the people's elected representatives, and the people themselves would have to vote on this if it actually gets through the legislature. And I'd imagine just guessing, a majority of Alabamians, probably a strong majority, would want prayer and pledge in their public school.
I think you're right. And to that point, it only takes a simple majority on the ballot. It takes a supermajority to get it there, but only a simple majority. And another misconception about constitutional amendments are that the governor has to sign them. That's not true. Constitutional amendments aren't like normal bills. They bypass the governor. They go straight to the Secretary of State to be put on the ballot. So I heard people say, well, even if gambling passed, would the governor sign the bill? No, you don't sign a constitutional amendment. Now, there was an enforcement bill that was a part of that gambling package.
Right.
That would have to be signed by the governor, but the amendments aren't signed.
And Representative Reed Ingram said that he didn't go the, say, more just traditional legislative approach, let's just pass a law here, because he knows, in fact, already as they've been getting this through committee, the SPLC has been making a lot of noise that we're going to sue.
Sure.
So he knew that, okay, this is going to go into the courts. It might as well be a constitutional amendment that the majority of Alabamians have already voted for before. That looks a lot better in front of a judge. It just has a lot more force
Politically,
to it.
I mean, that's kind of brilliant. I mean, to put the onus back or the burden on the people, like that's what we want. We elected them. It's kind of hard for the court to ignore that.
I agree. And I think the Democrats, too, they're not just trying to get prayer out of schools. It's not just we're going to remove this and stop doing it. It's going to remove this, and then what are we going to put in its place?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put in gender ideology, pronouns, etc. We're going to fill like liberal rock gut trash. We're going to put that into our curriculum. We're going to have trashy books in our children's libraries. Yeah, pull the Bible out. We can't have the Bible in schools. That's too controversial. But a book for kindergartners about, trashy things like sexual acts and stuff, that's okay to put in.
Right. And I think it's about time to push back, because it was always like, well, if you want to say prayer at the beginning of school day, send your kids to like a private Christian school. Well, why not push it the other way? If you don't want to say a prayer, send your kids to a private secular school.
Well, it's like the Ten Commandments issue. We had the whole debate over the public display of the Ten Commandments, and now we found out it is legal. You can do it, and basically everybody in the Alabama government is doing it. And one of the first things I did when I was elected auditor is I said, I'm going to see if we got a copy of the Ten Commandments anywhere. And I went and I looked, and sure enough, we already had one in the office. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to leave it then. I'm not going to, put a bigger one up or something. But we already had one there. But I went and made sure we did that.
Well, and I'm almost wondering if I'm this bill, let's assume for the sake of argument, this passes, the people vote on it. If I'm a school principal or administrator or whatever, trying to figure out, okay, what's the prayer going to be? Like, I mean, it wouldn't be like an explicitly Catholic prayer. More Christian would be, I guess, an Our Father is pretty universal. But then it could be something as simple as what? Love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Like a sentiment essentially like that is a pretty good one, I think, especially for children.
Well, way back in 1999, we did the Lord's Prayer. That was what we did.
You did the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Public school.
Wait, it was already just in 1999 that was going.
Well, again, being contrarian, maybe it was just our little ragtag group of misfits.
Where were y'all?
Geneva.
Okay, yeah.
You're not going to tell us we can't say the prayer.
No, and I think it's a good thing to push back, because it's one thing to say you can't do all this crazy transgender DEI stuff. It's another thing to say, okay, if the public schools reflect the will of the people, here's the will of the people and what they actually believe. This idea that you can have the federal government impose these weird new standards of, you brought up separation of church and state, like that continues to need to be challenged with this new Supreme Court, in my humble opinion. Because my understanding is you can't say the United States is purely Baptist or Catholic or whatever. You can't establish a particular religion. There would be no litmus test in that regard for holding federal power in office, but it also allows the free exercise thereof.
That's right.
And when you look at even like the Constitutional Convention, like one of the more secular, kind of a dirty dog, brilliant innovator, Ben Franklin. Mm-hmm. He always flirted with what did actually old Franklin after the Enlightenment believe. It's one day where they're arguing at the convention, and he gets up, and it's old man Franklin at this point, and he says, well, every day during the Revolution, we started these gatherings with a prayer, and I think as we're trying to figure this out, we should have prayer before, and it kind of shocked everybody in the room. And I think Jefferson actually holds prayer and services within the U.S. Capitol when he's president. Yeah. So the free exercise is completely all right, in my humble opinion. And I think some of the rulings, the new standards that were made in the 60s, it's not as enduring as the Ten Commandments. And so I think it's good to have this fight. And if you really don't like it, like, I don't like that the people of Alabama vote for this, move to a different state.
Well, look, maybe Democrats are coming off and say, I don't like that you have the Ten Commandments up. Well, I don't like that when I go to certain offices in the state legislature, some of the representatives from the other side still have signs on the door that says you cannot enter without a mask. I'm offended by that.
Right.
So we can all get offended. You just grow up and get over it.
Right.
If someone votes against this, they're going to lose twice. They're on the wrong side of the issue, and they're going to be saying that the people don't have a right to vote on this. I would not want to have to make that vote.
It'll be fascinating, and it got out of committee. I think there's only one vote against. I don't know who.
That's the whole argument with gambling is let the people vote on it, and it's going to be very hard for them to turn around and not let the people vote on this. If the people were saying, now, I don't really buy that argument much because I think there's a two-step process to passing constitutional amendment, and it's like people elected a representative. They elected me to come down here and vote. I told them how I was going to vote before I came here. I was open and honest about where I stood on gas taxes and gambling and all kinds of issues, and my district elected me knowing that. So I view that slightly differently than you, but I do think politically speaking, you're right.
Well, we got to hit this break. Before I hit the break, this part of the program brought to you folks by Dillon Rings, and Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings are ready to help you out with any and all of your jewelry needs. They are a full-service jewelry shop. So it could be repairs or spa treatments, or it could be custom design work. They also have an amazing in-stock selection from high-end jewelry to everyday items. And fellas, if you forgot, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Do you have something for your special someone? Well, if you don't, Dillon Rings can help you out with last-minute gifts there at great prices. Maybe you were going to go all out, but it could be something where it's the thought of it still looks great. They have stuff starting at $30. So, gentlemen, if you kind of are in a lurch and what am I going to get, chocolates again, or whatever you're going to get? No, stop by Dillon Rings. Jewelry is always a great way to go. And they're located, of course, at 119 Brown Springs Road, right here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway, sort of the back-end entrance to the AUM complex there. I tend to remember it's where the old Fun Zone used to be. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hey guys, this is Todd Clark with River Region Contracting, your premier roofing contractor in Central Alabama. So remember the name, River Region Contracting, for all your roofing needs. We're not affiliated with any other roofing company in the River Region. We've been in the roofing business since 2005. We don't have to buy our leads, and we don't have to knock on doors when the storms come around. We have thousands of satisfied customers throughout Central Alabama. So call us at 334-356-8635. That's 334-356-8635.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
For many children, stability is something they have never experienced. At the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches, we offer hope, healing, and a family to children in need. But behind every success story, our house parents are the heart of our ranches. We're looking for compassionate couples to join our mission. We provide housing, medical benefits, a 401k, paid vacation, and the chance to make a lasting difference. The Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches. Be the love, be the guidance, be the family they need. Visit alsyr.org.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing.
Hey, this is Robbie Clark. Spring is almost here. Stay cool with a spring tune-up with Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Don't wait. Schedule today. Give us a call at 334-277-2125. Alabama certification number 09098.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. Things are improving as the shower threat moves out of the state, and I think we could even see a little bit of sun before this day is over. Cooler today with a high in the mid-60s, partly cloudy, colder tonight, overnight low 36. We should see a decent amount of sunshine on Friday with a high up to about 64. Then warmer Saturday with a high around 75. Risk of showers begins in the afternoon, but showers and locally severe thunderstorms Saturday evening and Saturday night. And again, another tornado risk. We'll be watching this storm system carefully, of course. Then sharply colder behind it on Sunday and Monday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has digital banking solutions to help you keep up. Check balances, pay bills, and much more. Learn more at cbsbank.com. Charges and fees may apply from your cellular service provider. Contact your service provider for information. Member FDIC.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. Again, State Auditor Andrew Sorrell here in the studio, as is Byron Sheehy. And, I was just having a thought as we were talking about DOGE off air. Wouldn't like an ideal place if you use the already existing structure of government is to, have the state auditor maybe like actually audit everything in the state?
I've been for that ever since I was running for auditor. So I think we need to be giving the auditor more duties, more responsibilities. And on that note, maybe we can talk about Senate Bill 163 that Senator Jones introduced yesterday in the Senate that's going to do just that. And it's not going to give me the DOGE type oversight that I wish I had, but yeah, look, if you're looking for more for the state auditor to do, I'm the cheapest person in state government. Like, I don't even think anybody disputes that fact. Let me look for cost savings. One of the major things the federal government wastes money on is interest. Now, I heard our federal defense budget was less than what we're paying in interest right now. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. We spent a lot of money here in Alabama on interest as well, and now we're just getting ready to pass another bill that's going to allow us to borrow up to another $500 million to finish the prisons. So the cost on those is just exploding.
Man, and it's just, what is the bill, like what sort of extra powers would it give back to your office, to the auditor's office?
First of all, we can adjust the property threshold. So the property audit threshold has been $500 for decades. And as you can imagine, with inflation, more and more stuff is going on that. And it's a lot of stuff that really isn't necessary to be audited. And this would give me the power to keep that threshold in line with inflation. I could raise it $100 in $100 chunks depending on how much inflation had been over the last few years. So I would be able to immediately up that to $600. We have some items that were purchased in 1987 for $500 that are still on our property rolls, and they're basically worth nothing now. It would also give me a division of property investigations. So it would create a new investigations division in the state auditor's office to investigate the loss or theft of state property. I may have told this story before, but we had a Department of Public Health employee taking surplus property out to ADECA's surplus unit, and they auctioned it off on govdeals.com there. Got impatient waiting for help unloading the box truck and proceeded to just throw the inventory off the back of the truck on video. I have the video. Damaged, broke $20,000 worth of taxpayer equipment. And right now, I have no ability to determine if that loss is negligent or non-negligent. That is left up to the agency. And I have no ability to take any kind of corrective action to help recoup that money for the taxpayer, even though I'm the one constitutionally tasked with tracking the state's property. So how it would be different if this bill passes is, number one, if the agency wrote that was a non-negligent loss, I can overrule them. And number two, I can send a demand letter out to demand repayment for the $20,000. So what I did is I reached out to the agency and I said, we need to see the loss form. So they sent it to me and they had marked it negligent. So I thought, okay, good. Maybe they're on the right track here. I looked down, corrective action taken spot. You know what it said? Told him to be more patient next time. like he was a kindergartner. And I said, that's not corrective action.
That's funny.
This guy, you need to do one of two things. You either fire him or you demand he repay. Well, they went with a demand he repay, and they worked out a repayment plan for him. And he started getting withholdings from his paycheck and paying the state back. And then you know what he did? He quit.
Oh, there you go.
He took care of. So unfortunately, we didn't get all our money back, but at least that guy's gone, out of state government.
And made an example. Like, it's not going to be tolerated.
No, absolutely. Also, we're having some trouble with our audits because we don't feel safe in corrections and Department of Youth Services. These prisons are understaffed. The employees at corrections are telling us we don't recommend you come in here. And my staff is saying, can we change our policy and not audit behind bars at corrections? And I said, well, first of all, let me say this about corrections. They have $69 million of inventory, and they got a perfect audit. Commissioner Ham presented him a perfect audit certificate. That's incredible.
Nonsense.
That they did not lose a single item out of that many thousands of inventory items. So they're already doing a great job, tracking that stuff internally. And I said, second, but we're required to track the property. Like, the law says we have to track it. So no, I'm not just going to tell you can't go track it. Like, if we want to change the law, let's change the law. So I put that in the bill. It's going to allow for an alternative audit method. So for instance, we might have a corrections employee behind bars. They may submit photographic evidence that the item is still there to us, and we can change the audit method. It's just really intended to keep us safe. So that's in the bill. And then there's several other technical updates that we need to get through. And yeah, that's the main thing is the new Division of Investigations.
And just real quick on what you said about the prisons, and you buy the explanation, it sounds like, and I'm not necessarily all that skeptical of it, but it wouldn't be safe for you to go in, or your team to go in and check stuff out.
Well, they're understaffed. What happens if a prison riot breaks out and we've got an auditor in there? I mean, we can't go in armed. There's no way to defend ourselves. Some of these things, I mean, do you want to be an auditor and you're going to go in and like scan the bunk bed that cost over $500 in the inmate cell? Like, no, I don't. I didn't sign up for that job. My auditors have already got to do some things that most people would say, count me out on that job. Like when we do forensics, some of the remember the lady that got sucked into the jet engine over here at the Montgomery Airport? Yeah. Well, they collect the remains of these people. They're doing autopsies and stuff, and they're laying on tables that the state owns that cost over $500. And we go in, and there's literally dead bodies laying there, and we have to be tracking the inventory in that lab and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you don't think about all that when you think about the auditor's office. There's places where we've got to, get out of the pickup truck and hike a quarter mile up to the radio antenna and all kinds of things like that. So,
yeah, and it's just I've been looking at. The policies Trump's trying to pull off, especially this deal apparently with El Salvador, which in looking into their new prisons and stuff, it's a pretty crazy situation. And they were quite heavy-handed, not something I would want here in the United States with, armed military members all over neighborhoods every once in a while. But there's even guys, there was one guy who was wrongfully detained for 7 months, got a leg infection, so his whole leg's atrophied, his left leg. And he was released. They said, we wrongfully held you. We're sorry, essentially.
Wow.
And that guy was asked, so do you think Kekule, this new regime, is doing the right thing? He goes, oh, yeah. Even given what I went through, what it was before, it was worth me even being wrongfully held for 7 months. And you see these max security prisons, and it did bring one principle to mind. And obviously, I'm not thinking of budget constraints. I'm not thinking of the practical realities of the actual facilities themselves, yada, yada, yada. They're just realities on the ground I'm not thinking of. I'm thinking of just in abstract. If I'm running a prison, and also I want to run a prison that's humane, there isn't cruel and unusual punishment going on, I'm the only one as the one in charge who gets to be violent. If you're violent against one of my officers, if you're violent against one of your fellow inmates, consequences.
Yes.
Big consequences. And it sounds like we don't have that here in this state. Maybe it's all the realities on the ground. This is why we're spending all this money to build new ones, I suppose. But it's like, how do we even get to this state of affairs where you're not even running your own prison, essentially?
That's a great question. And what I've been telling legislators is the problem we have with our prisons is not that people are taking inventory out of them. It's what's going into them. It's the drugs, the contraband, the knives that are slipping in, all of that stuff. I mean, you'd be surprised what ends up in prisons. And they've got their own little economy inside these prisons. And I know this because we get Board of Adjustment claims. So you can't sue the state, but you can put a claim in against the state. And a lot of prisoners put claims in, and they say some of it's valid. Some of it says, I was having a heart attack, and they took me to the hospital. They didn't put my property up in a locker. Other inmates stole it. I need to be reimbursed $132. Okay, that's probably, they're supposed to put the property up when they go, stuff like that. Other times it's my 174 packs of cigarettes were stolen. We're like, what are you doing with 174 packs of cigarettes? Well, they're obviously buying and selling stuff. Okay,
right.
What are you buying and selling?
Right.
I mean, you get 3 squares a day. You get clothes. You get bedding. Like what is it? Well, they're obviously dealing drugs in prison.
An extra piece of cornbread.
Well, and so much of that is just insane to me because it's somewhat counterintuitive, I think, because we're used to like human rights means sort of the touchy feely, don't go too hard on me. But it's like, no, you're not going to be able to uphold human rights unless you have the correct amount of force in a given situation.
Man, I don't even know. Go back to the Stanford prison experiment. I mean, like when you have those kind of situations, like human nature is human nature.
Sure.
I mean, like we're trying to limit people from being humans. Like,
yeah, but there are prisons that are run in a much more efficient, humane way, I think, than ones we have here, is my point.
Mm-hmm.
And the principle should be, if you're in my prison, I'm controlling everything coming in, everything going out, and I'm controlling the environment within the prison.
That's the goal, but I don't think that's the reality for any prison. You think that
some of them, I think, are a little.
Be some well-run prisons.
You think there's a prison out there that contraband's not being snuck into?
Well, there's one in El Salvador I just watched. Yeah, now they're hardcore. I'm saying
they're going to be mining Bitcoin here pretty soon, man. They're going to be able to have all kinds of things shipped in.
Yeah, I know. I that's why I hedged it with like there are obviously budgets and practical realities. People are very crafty. We'll see. It's just that it doesn't even seem like we're sort of hewing to the principle. Like we're just kind of like, yeah, this is what we've got, and we've had it for a while, and it's a mess. But what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And it's just,
legislature passes bills that provide more funding so they can hire more people, and then they don't get them hired. And I get it; it's probably hard to hire people to go work in. Guards don't want to be in there for the same reason my auditors don't want to be in there. It's dangerous in there. And some of these prisons, they don't have air conditioning. I mean, it's 95 degrees in there, and that doesn't make for a good environment for keeping people happy. I mean, when you're uncomfortable, you start fighting over the fan or whatever, stuff breaks out.
Right.
Like, we do need new prisons in Alabama. Everybody knows that. But we've got to have some more qualified guards in these prisons, too.
Well, what's the average salary for a corrections officer? Do you know? Approximate?
I don't know.
I don't know off the top of my head either.
It's whatever it is, it's not enough to tempt me to do it. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Well, and again, that's part of the 3-something billion general fund. What you said, the education's almost 10 at this point.
9.9, yeah. But when you quote these numbers, that never includes the supplementals.
Right.
So you say, okay, well, last year we were at, I'm guessing, 9.5 billion. This year we're at 9.9 billion. We grew it, $400 million. No. We grew the budget $400 million, but then did we have a supplemental for $1.2 billion on top of that? A supplemental is, hey, we brought in revenue in excess of what we're allowed legally to appropriate, because we appropriate based on a rolling reserve act, the last 10 years, throughout the high years, the low years, etc. But if there's leftover money at the end, you come back the next year and you supplement, and you can burn all the excess money. And my question was always, why don't we take this excess money and pay our debt off? Like, there's years we're having a $1 billion surplus, and then we are borrowing $1 billion to build new schools. I'm like, what are we doing?
Right. Doesn't make much sense. I've got to hit a break here in a second. I think we got enough time to take a call or two. First, this part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. And there at the Goodson Group, Bo and his team are ready to help you whether you're looking to buy or sell here in the River Region real estate market. Bo's been working this market for 50 years. Or close to it, at least. And he's been through it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so Bo himself and the team he's put together, they can help you, again, whether you're looking to buy or sell here in Montgomery and the surrounding areas, or if you're looking for management services, should you want to rent out your home, which is still a great idea in this market. But managing can be a pain in the butt to do it yourself, to be frank about it. Why not, for a reasonable fee, have the Goodson Group manage that rental for you? And then the crown jewel there is the Bo Goodson Real Estate School, one of the most highly acclaimed real estate programs in the state. Bo is bringing that 50 years of experience to bear, very interactive course. And of course, it's also the proof of all the folks that have graduated. More knowledgeable private players or folks that have gone on to become fully licensed real estate agents and found great success here in the area. And they've moved off and found great success elsewhere because of what they learned with Bo Goodson. So y'all check them out today. You can always go to thegoodsongroup.com or give them a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. Great sponsor here of the program. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this? Hello? Well, that's just rude. Line 3, you're on there. Who's this?
Charles the First.
Hey, Charles, how you doing?
I'm good. How you guys?
All right.
I'm glad Andrew's on there. I was going to ask about something else, but I do know some of the stuff about the prison, remember?
Oh, yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, and the guards they start out at just under 57,000 because of an increase to try to get more guards. At one time, there were only 9 guards for all the prisoners at Limestone Correctional Facility.
Wow.
And as far as yes, that's part of the Alabama solution in the documentary. I think it may show Stacy talking about that because he left the prison system at the same time he was running for governor. And yeah, y'all, like I'm on Charles I on Quora. And if anybody wants to know the intimate details of just how terrible it is, the 5 guys that were doctors and stuff that went in because of the federal lawsuit, y'all, this is really, really, this ain't just a little bit terrible. It's blatantly, horribly horrible. I'm talking about persons in wheelchairs in there that for punishment the guards leave them against a wall for hours, okay? I'm talking about some really, really horrendous. I mean, and remember what I was telling you, the persons from the mental health facilities that closed during the Riley administration, that became homeless, that had to steal from Walmart, that had no one to get them out, couldn't have a job, 3 strikes and you're in prison, in solitary confinement because they were being harmed by the other inmates, y'all, terribly. But some of them for 2 years because there wasn't enough. You know, the guards don't cook the meals and bring them. It's the prisoners, and if they don't want to give one of these persons a meal that's in that isolation and give their buddy 2 meals, nobody even knows what happened with the others, y'all. Wow. I mean, it is very atrocious beyond what you guys or anybody's thinking. Right. And I'm saying it can be as harsh as you. I'm all for mandatory punishment, but when you take handicapped or mentally incapacitated persons, and they are being treated at such a terrible, awful, unbelievable way, it is atrocious, and we should not be allowing it.
Correct.
And more persons that are in power should go through with lots of guards or whatever and view the circumstances themselves. And then it might be a little bit to it when you actually, I think seeing the movie will change the minds of those that might see it that are in power if they will take a second to go look at it or to read the report that was sent by these doctors.
Remind folks of the name of the movie.
The movie is called The Alabama Solution. It's called The Alabama Solution because, listen, the federal judge, Myron Thompson, did not say build prison. He said correct the very things that I'm talking about here, not other stuff.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And, and she just wanted that money. And what I was going to call about, Andrew, is still the $6 million that she got the contract from the same place that sent her that could be USAID money, making the nonprofit get families back to work, that could be in all kinds of campaigns. Are you following me? That could become a money laundering for campaign. I'm giving you a contract where we didn't even have to spend all the money to build these prisons to even do this, sir. So
I'm not sure I'm 100% following you.
Well, I talked to you before, and you said you and the Secretary of State had talked about the LLCs and the nonprofits being able to give money to candidates.
Yes.
So-and-so wants a road built, and the contract company that's paying for whoever to run for office gets that contract. Swap out, switch out. I've got mega millions to run my campaign. Are you following me?
Well,
and I'm giving you the contract.
I've seen construction companies and some of these tax referendums donate to the Vote Yes campaign because they think they're going to get the contract when the Vote Yes campaign goes through and the new school gets built. So, yes, I have seen that.
Yes, and with the prison, you don't get to necessarily know who's part of the construction because of the intimate details cannot be known. In other words, you could hire a contracted worker that digs a tunnel with nobody knowing it on that site for the prisoners. You got me?
Yeah, I understand.
So, and like I've said before, I believe that the auditor should get to know this no matter what. There should be nothing stopping you You don't have to tell anybody else, but you can protect us as the voters, as the constituents, as dark money sources couldn't come through, sir.
That's why we've got to have a strengthen the auditor bill through to give my office more powers.
And I wanted to ask if you got anything like that going through, if you got any representatives that might help you guys with it.
There are definitely some representatives over there that are interested in the kind of things that you're talking about.
Well, I think that a lot of citizens feel like me, and anything that you could do, I really appreciate it. And again, I thank y'all for letting me tell you about this. And that movie, it'll be on the theaters, The Alabama Solution. It will be a HBO documentary by very good producers and directors. They did that. I can't think of. They did a very prominent show that I can't think of.
This is coming out, or it's already out?
It's coming out. It was just at Sundance.
It's coming out. Yes, it'll be out. It was at Sundance. It got a 94.5 rating.
Okay.
Just 2 weeks ago.
You'll be happy to know I've added it to my watch list.
All right. Hey, and thank you for all you do, and thank y'all for having me on.
Appreciate it, Charles. We got to hit this top of the hour break. More after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Trump says he will likely meet soon with Russian President Putin to negotiate a peace deal in the almost 3-year-long war in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky, meanwhile, said he would not accept any negotiations about Ukraine that did not include his country in the talks. European governments also demanding a seat at the table. Hamas says it will release the next group of 3 Israeli hostages as planned. That would pave the way toward resolving a major dispute in the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services after Senate confirmation earlier today. Stocks higher on Wall Street, the Dow up 130 points, the NASDAQ Composite adding 139. This is SRN News.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher here. You know, I've been thinking, why does it feel like losing weight is harder than ever before? With mixed messages, fad diets, quick fix solutions, many are left feeling stuck and exhausted trying to fight a battle they can't seem to win. If you felt this way, know that you're not alone. I used to be that way too. But let me tell you, it's not your fault. Your body's working against you. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. I called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition 3 years ago. I lost 53 pounds, and I've kept it off. I feel great, and I love telling the world about PhD Weight Loss. If you're ready to make a change, make the phone call that can change your life the way it changed mine. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 to schedule your consultation. The first 11 callers who mention healthy will get 2 free weeks added to their weight loss package. Don't wait. Hit your 2025 weight loss goals now. Call 864-644-1900. Mention healthy for your bonus weeks, or go to myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com.
Rich Thomas weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas weather. Well, hi, everybody. Things are improving as the shower threat moves out of the state, and I think we could even see a little bit of sun before this day is over. Cooler today with a high in the mid-60s. Partly cloudy, colder tonight, overnight low 36. We should see a decent amount of sunshine on Friday with a high up to about 64. Then warmer Saturday with a high around 75. Risk of showers begins in the afternoon, but showers and locally severe thunderstorms Saturday evening and Saturday night. And again, another tornado risk. We'll be watching this storm system carefully, of course. Then sharply colder behind it on Sunday and Monday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
You can make your ASE loan payment from your phone, anytime, anywhere. It's quick and easy. YourASECreditUnion.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, these are today's top stories. Legislation increasing how much the state of Alabama can borrow to pay for new prison construction passed the Senate General Fund Budget Committee on Wednesday. The legislature authorized $1.2 billion in funding for 2 4,000-bed prison facilities in Elmore and Escambia counties in 2021. Currently, the new mega prison in Elmore County is projected to cost over $1 billion alone. A Montgomery woman is dead after being shot late Tuesday night. Police responded to the 500 block of East-South Boulevard near Norman Bridge Road, where they found 61-year-old Barbara Smith dead from a gunshot wound. An investigation is ongoing. Suspect and motive remain unknown. Alabama lawmakers on Wednesday gave final approval to legislation that would write definitions of male and female into state law. The House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly for the bill that defines sex based on reproductive organs that are present at birth. The bill now goes to Governor Kay Ivey, who has vowed to sign the bill into law. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Are you happy with your IT support company? Do they resolve your company's computer issues quickly, or do they leave you down and frustrated? You need your computers working and problems resolved quickly and permanently. GTI is different. GTI has a high standard of affordably supporting and protecting businesses like yours since 1999. Call them now at 819-4650, 819-4650, or visit gtinow.com.
Mike Costanza with Chappie's Deli.
And Jeff Baranko with Chappie's Deli.
One of the reasons Chappie's Deli has been around for over 32 years is Blue Water Broadcasting.
Yes, it is, and we have the perfect faces for radio.
We sure do. And if you have a perfect face for radio, call Blue Water.
Radio works. It's as simple as that. Call us to find out how radio can work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bell's cleaning service get your home in order. Families in the River region trust Southern Bell's because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. So, with all the love and hate being thrown Elon Musk's way, I mean, y'all know where I stand on that. I think the guy's a freaking hero, especially for so much of what he's done recently, but fascinating figure to do a deep dive on. That said, Musk has become sort of the center of the media environment. Like, he is using his account in particular to retweet this person or repost that person and like put it out in front of millions and millions of people. And so it was a pleasant surprise when I looked over here and that's an Elon Musk tweet that just says yes. And who did he retweet? Oh, that's United States Senator Katie Britt. This was last night.
Hey everyone, Katie Britt here. I just finished my shift in the Senate chair. Right now what's happening is, well, my shift was from 11 to midnight. What's happening is Democrats are talking in opposition to Robert Kennedy. They're going to talk all night, but the end result is going to be the same. And we're going to confirm Robert Kennedy Jr. as the next Secretary of HHS, and we're going to make America healthy again. We're going to give our kids a chance to have good ingredients, to know what's in their foods, to finally make a difference, and to have someone that's willing to do hard things to put us in a better place.
So Musk retweets that, and it does happen. RFK Jr. has now been confirmed, though one Republican voted against. Y'all want to guess who?
I know who. I read the article, but if I hadn't read the article, I'd still have guessed Mitch McConnell.
I would have probably gone with one of the female senators.
They always vote together. If it's Murkowski or
Touche.
Collins or what, they always vote together.
You're right about that. And so RFK's in. It's fantastic news. I love that. Right now, throughout the day, Linda McMahon, yes, that McMahon family, for education secretary. I love it. Folks asked Trump the other day, why would you appoint an education secretary if you're trying to get rid of the Department of Education? I said, Linda, I want you to do such a good job that you don't have a job. And that's exactly what she's been saying in the hearing. Like, I'm completely on board with this sort of downsizing or completely getting rid of it, which is a beautiful thing to behold. Also, just running through some headlines here. 75,000 federal workers accept buyout offer after the deadline closes. And this is on the heels of after judges said, no, you can't do it. A federal judge allowed the federal worker buyout, which actually, I've got a clip that we could go to where it's Al Gore and Bill Clinton in the Rose Garden, essentially suggesting all this stuff DOGE is doing.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't seen that.
It's amazing. Let me find it real quick, because it's this blast from the past. Like, what happened to the Democrats of the 90s?
Using people's words against them, best medicine.
Oh, so this is in September of 97. 1997. There's Al Gore, who actually some will say did help with the creation of the internet, even though it sounds like an outrageous claim. Some of the tech bros that are now backing Trump are like, no, actually, he was great in the late 80s, early 90s. He's really helped us a lot. But here's Gore and Clinton. What a change this country's had in the last 20-something years.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Wait, merging agencies? What?
Closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
From the day I took office, one of the
This is Barack Obama in 2011.
commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. It means cutting some programs that I think are worthy, but we may not be able to afford right now. A lot of the action is in Congress and legislative, but in the meantime, we don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative the campaign to cut waste. And we're going to keep on finding every possible way that we can do that, even if Congress is not acting. There you go.
What happened to these guys? Well, I think they weren't telling the truth in the first place.
Congress doesn't ever voluntarily cut waste. So, I mean, I agree with everything Barack Obama said. Don't quote me on that.
In that clip. In that clip.
Oh, it's going to be cut and put in an ad one day. But here's the difference. I think what Al Gore and Bill Clinton were saying, they might have actually meant. By the time Barack Obama was saying it, he no longer meant it, but at least he was still smart enough to say it. And now we're to the point where they're not even saying it. They're saying the opposite. How dare we have an unelected bureaucrat giving suggestions on how to cut waste in government?
Well, and it is so delicious. I'll put it this way. I can't play the clip, I don't believe, because he decided to curse in it on CNBC. But this one guy makes a point it was on the tip of my tongue. I had just not found a way to make it myself. But the idea is this, that for the longest time, people in the Reagan administration, even folks during the Clinton administration, people even in the Bush administration were like, we need to cut government, and they're conservatives. They mean it. And so you get these appointees in there, and they go talk to the bureaucracy. I want to report on my desk like in a few months about all the wasteful stuff, and what does the bureaucracy do? They literally fire spitballs at them. That was Jack Kemp's experience. So this time around, they actually got a technical person where they burrowed into the technical aspect of these systems, went around the bureaucrats, and essentially know more about these systems than maybe the bureaucrats themselves know at this point. It is genius. No wonder they're screaming. And what you can do with just a few guys, started with 6, went to 12, I think it's now hundreds as they're venturing into the DOD. It's beautiful to behold.
So I sold a business 4 years ago, and the new owners saw fit to double the workforce, and the sales didn't increase at all. They basically ran the business on the ground, ended up buying the business back 2 years ago. And I downsized half of the employees. I didn't actually even end up getting rid of them. As they quit, I just didn't replace them, and we got back to the right size. But if you'd have asked the employees, are you essential here? Well, yeah, absolutely. We've got to have 12 people here to run this company. And no, you don't. We run it today with 4 and a couple part-timers during busy season.
Right. And it's anybody who's really done private business and done it well understands this.
Yeah.
And then you take a guy who has reshaped the rocket industry for the world, also reshaped the car industry, often with this sort of hardcore mentality. We're going to have sleepless nights. I'm skipping over the whole management structure and going right to the line to understand exactly where the problem and the holdup is. You have that guy jumping in, and seriously, looking through these payments, it's a revelation. I believe President Trump's going to do a press conference soon here, just laying out from Trump's own words, like where all this money was going, and defend that. Democrats, go ahead and defend that. Let's go to Cranky on line 1. Hey, Cranky, how you doing?
Oh, we're doing fine. Yeah, at first I thought it was the paper mill in Prattville, but then I realized now it's just the Alabama legislature in session again. Unbelievable. I mean, they just never cease to amaze me, the nitwittery and jackassery that they pull out of their hats every year. We're the laughing stock of school systems in the country, and we've got some clown up there wanting to give tax breaks to football players. What's that? And this deal with the prison. Oh, by the way, you know who's got a really big hand in the background with the prison? You know who's making a big chunk of coin off of this? One of your very, very good friends, Joey, Bobby Louder. Bobby Louder's up to his eyeballs in it.
One of my good friends. I wish.
I know he's a good. Yeah. Anyhow, this thing is way, way overpriced, and no bids. Nobody knows what's going on. I mean, Hey Ivy is picking up where USAID left off. Some people are making out on this, and how many times has it come in over budget? It's over budget again, and I mean it's just this sad state of affairs. But it's situation normal. I don't know.
I want to follow up on the NIL bill that you mentioned, because I just heard about this either yesterday or the day before from my chief of staff, and my first reaction was, "Huh?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Why, if we're going to exempt some group of people from income tax, how about like the veterans or something like that? Why would we exempt the football players who are making? Is this just designed to help recruiting? Is that what
Yeah, we want to win.
It's a recruiting bill.
Florida has no tax on income, right?
Yeah, no income tax, right?
So if you go to school at Florida, you have an advantage over Auburn or Alabama now.
Okay, I got a better solution, and it's the Jarek Wilkins solution, the op-ed he put up on 1819 News. Eliminate the Alabama income tax.
Hear, hear.
Amen.
Like, just get rid of that. Like, if all of our surrounding states don't have it, especially border counties like me, you can go 20 miles north and not pay the income tax. Anyway, I appreciate you bringing that up. That was on my mind.
And this is Laverne, who I think put this
Auburn.
from Auburn, yeah. And then also Chris Blackshear co-sponsoring this. Yeah, and the idea is there would be no income tax on any income earned from name, image, and likeness contracts.
NIL is already ruining college football.
Right. But it is straight up, we want to win. Like, we want Alabama and Auburn to have the best recruiting.
At least their goals are noble. I will give them that.
Because we saw what happened in the SEC in the playoff.
Can we just get Nick Saban back?
That's why recruiting is so important, because we have to go out of state because our own students are so damn dumb they can't get in. They don't know how to spell SAT.
Cranky, I love how you live up to your name every time you call in.
But Cranky, here's the point, though. It's like we can't get college kids to come play ball here because they could have less income tax somewhere else. I can make that exact same argument for every other sector,
right?
every other profession.
So let's cover that. No income tax.
Right. Let's just do a friendly amendment to the bill.
We don't do our jobs on Saturday morning, though. That's the problem.
Here's what's so rich about it. They're doing that. You know, the rest of Alabama's burning down. You got a bunch of Nero wannabes down there just fiddling away and stuff. They're playing the fiddle with one hand and stuffing their pockets with the other. And we tax Alabama and Louisiana. We tax our poor people higher than any other state in the country. We do that. And they want to give tax breaks to spoil little piss pants, Johnny Manziel idiots that are going to go out there and, you know, they won't even finish their 4 years, and they'll wind up running their Maserati into a phone pole. And they want to give them a tax break so they can accelerate the death. Okay, sure. That sounds like a great idea next to me. Yeah, it's wonderful. Absolutely ridiculous. Once again, we're the laughing stock of the country.
Appreciate it, Crank.
At least it's consistent. Thank you.
Sometimes you got to let some of these callers go because it's just too good. It's just too good. Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228.
Can I just reframe the NIL bill for a minute?
Sure.
Just to illustrate the absurdity. Let's say that we're going to change the bill. It's not going to exempt NIL for college students. It's going to exempt legislators from income tax. And we can't get anybody to run for office here in Alabama because they could go run in Florida and not have to pay any income tax. People would be up in arms about this.
No, but it's such an Alabama bill, honestly. It really is. It's like, dadgum, Saban's gone.
You know, he had an ability to tie the same straw man or the same boogeyman together on two different issues, and he missed an opportunity there.
Well, and also, and people looked at me like I had three heads, but I'm like, don't go with the obvious choice of Hugh Freeze, Auburn. You got Bruce Pearl. The guy's a media darling. He makes press and he's a great coach. Go with Coach Prime. Go with Deion Sanders. Yeah. That combination would have been a recruiting magnet to the loveliest village on the plains. It would have been amazing. Now, does Deion come with some issues? Yeah, sure. But it would have been a lot of fun as opposed to maybe we'll get better next year.
I think the board nits that before it ever became a thing.
Oh, yeah. You know, they already knew who their guy was.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I'm sure y'all have already covered the Super Bowl. We're late in the week, but proud of Jalen Hurts and representing and Devontae. Yeah, but Jalen especially because he was benched for Tua during the national championship game. And what redemption for him, not only to make it to the Super Bowl a couple years ago and lose, but to win this year and to win in dominating fashion. My wife goes, "Do you want to know the score?" I wasn't watching him. She goes, "Do you want to know the score?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. What the heck?" She was like, "It's like 34-0." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, it's
Kansas City, right? Because if you tell me 34-0, I'm going to assume it's Kansas City leading, right? No.
The game itself, unless you were an Eagles fan, the game itself was boring because Mahomes couldn't even drop back for a second or two. There was no pocket.
And they never blitzed once.
They didn't have to. Their defensive line was, they're man-eaters, dude.
Yeah, which makes me go, how did the Chiefs get there? Like, I don't know.
Well, Scotch tape and, you know.
Listen, Tom Brady in 2007 and the Patriots, Randy Moss, they went undefeated until the Super Bowl. And then you had the helmet catch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was
weird stuff happened.
That was also a game defense wins championships. Those two ends that they had, they were getting after Tom that game.
I had to watch Eli Manning do that to Brady twice. Did it again in 2011 with the Mario Manningham catch down the sideline, 39-yard catch.
Yeah, there's something about that Manning family. They know how to throw the football, all right?
Side story, one of the drunkest individuals I've ever seen in my life was Eli at the Sigma New House in Ole Miss after Ole Miss beat Alabama. I think it was my senior year. Kid was going out a winner for sure.
Yeah, you get the behind-the-scenes look of what actually happens after a victory. This part of the program brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing, and they're at Cole Plumbing, ready to help you with any and all of your plumbing needs. Could be, everyday issues like low water pressure, clogged drain. Maybe you need to install a new garbage disposal or upgrade certain things in the kitchen or the bathroom. So like maybe a taller toilet if the knees and hips are starting to give out. Doesn't need to be a chore to do your business, so to speak. Or maybe it's a big problem, like a big burst pipe inside or outside your home. Cole Plumbing can get there. They understand time is of the essence, and they have this proprietary pipelining technology that allows them with minimal discomfort to you in your home to solve the issue without having to tear out a bunch of drywall or dig up a huge hole in your yard. No, with precision and expertise, they can get the job done. So make an appointment today. At least save this number in your phone in case some plumbing issues come up. That number, 279-8919. That's 8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl,
call on Cole.
Well done. Well done. Now, one thing about the whole DOGE atmosphere, like it's created this cultural moment beyond just what it's practically doing. And especially when you have Elon pushing all this on X. And so it encourages others to just post, especially working within the government. Let's say also the military. You're like, oh no, Elon, this one made me, I guffawed. True belly laugh when I saw this morning in between some sets. Let's just play it without much characterization. Other than this guy, he looks like he's in the military. I'll put it that way. Let's listen in.
Elon, you can't just call anything you want waste and just get rid of it. You can't do that. Like in the Department of Defense, we do like lots and lots of online training every year that's totally not a waste of time and teaches us great skills that we use every day. And you should not use DOGE to eliminate that. You just don't, please don't do that. Please.
Elon retweeted that. And so it's like, it's just this moment is fantastic to watch. And people galvanizing together for the cause. I'm even suspecting Congress might get something done here. That's where I'm a little, I go back and forth on.
That's a bold prediction.
Well, I was watching it was one of these long like budget markup Senate committee hearings. And there's Sheldon Whitehouse arguing with Lindsey Graham and John Kennedy. That guy, I can watch that guy for hours. Kennedy's like, well, look, my first point is I don't care if it's one bill or two bills. This ain't a competition. I just want something done. And I'm like, he's just laying it down perfectly. I hope they get something done because it's going to be through reconciliation. You don't need Democrats necessarily to join in. And given all Democrats are making this point, given all the fraud and waste and abuse DOGE has found, how dare you even suggest a CR, a continuing resolution on all this?
Wow.
Like we find all this and you still fund it for another few months? Give me a break.
Great point.
And we'll see what the next shoe to drop is with DOGE. I have a feeling they will continue to keep burrowing into the federal government, especially the DOD. And that should be a very healthy exercise for
and
everybody.
Social Security. They're looking into that. And of course, all the Democrats can pitch that is they're going to cut off your payments, your Social Security. No, he's not. Unless you're, in illegal or unless you're dead or unless you've been living in another country for 10 years.
Right.
Then you might get it cut off.
Well, and another dynamic of this is people are, again, going after Elon more than they're going after Trump. And it definitely takes some heat off Trump. And it allows Trump, I'll play it in this clip, to essentially be defending Elon. And so it's like, it's not self-serving in the sense of like, no, they're always after me. He gets to be like, poor Elon, y'all go after him all the time.
Now we went from, Trump is pulling everyone's strings. Everyone's only doing what Trump tells them to now it's, Trump is doing whatever Elon says.
Yeah, but I mean, the voters have spoken. All these corporations had the backlash. And I mean, he's Teflon at this point. At least the Democrats are smart enough to know that man walking around right there, untouchable.
Oh, his approval's going up. The Democrats' approval as a party is in the toilet. I think it's like 57% disapproval.
Wow.
Which is pretty remarkable. And that's CNN numbers. I do wonder what a new day and age this is. But here's Trump. This is after Tulsi Gabbard was sworn as the new director of national intelligence. Real quick. I don't have the clip ready, but you put your hand on the Bible and you take the oath. And I noticed something because I saw Trump swearing in Tulsi and he shakes her hand firmly, like arm out. And then he does the hug and air kiss. And I'm like, did you do that with Rubio, man? And it wasn't like, can you imagine Biden doing that? It was such a New York Trump kind of flourish of like, air kiss.
I don't understand the need for politicians to kiss each other's wives. I've never understood that. Yeah. No other politician better kiss my wife, even an air kiss. What in the world? Where did that start? It was like at the convention. It's like the president and vice president's wives and stuff. It's like they're kissing all over each other.
I think it's a Trump thing.
Weird.
Yeah,
it's very European.
Yeah, no, and it is very like if it's a woman that he's promoting or putting in a certain position, he still does the air kiss and the little hug and then hold the firm handshake and gives like the proud dad look. And I'm like, it's such a, but anyway, here's Trump after he swore in Tulsi, being asked about Elon and Doge.
Considering exemption, talk about widespread fraud and abuse.
Oh, yeah. Tremendous fraud. There's tremendous fraud. And it's hard to believe that you can have that kind of fraud. You're talking about are you talking about what? Wait. Which are you talking? You're talking about with regard to all of the investigations that are going on about this stupidity. What we're going to do is tomorrow I'm having a news conference. I'm going to read to you some of the names that hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars have been given to. And if you tell me that we should be giving money to those things, those entities, I think you'll probably have to leave as a reporter because you're not very talented. When you look at the kind of money, billions and billions of dollars being thrown away illegally, and there's no chance. I mean, I say it in front of our Attorney General, there's no chance that there's not kickbacks or something going on. When you give millions and millions of dollars to somebody that stands to look at something for 15 minutes and walks away with millions of dollars, that money's coming back in some form. And that's only one form of corruption. The biggest thing is what they do to our country. They're taking massive amounts of money and spending it on items. I went through a list of 200 expenditures that were made, and I found 3 that looked like they were reasonable. Okay, 3. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. We have a lot of stuff. And I want to commend Elon because he's done he doesn't need this. You know, he's abused by you people every day. He's found more things than anybody could find. I think he's got the credibility to do it. I know he does. And it's his group of people. You know, they started off with 12. I call them 12 geniuses. They started off with 12, and they went to 20 and 25, and now they're up to almost 100. People are joining to help them because there's a massive fraud that's taken place.
Well, and Doge.gov is now live, and it's got amazing little breakdowns. Like it has how many of these regulations did a particular department promulgate compared to how many laws that actually give them that supposed authority to promulgate those rules. And it shows like which departments are pushing the most regulations, what are the estimated cost of all of these things, as well as all the rot and contracts they've canceled. Like it's all there, beautifully put out in graphics to read through.
I'm glad you brought that up because dismantling the regulatory state is probably as important as cutting off the wasteful spending.
Yeah. And I heard Jasmine Crockett talking about the federal workforce is only 5% of the budget. And it's like, yeah, but how many of those bureaucrats that are just doing the job that we don't need them doing? Like, it's one thing you could say to them, you do great work at your job. You do a great job at what you do. Problem is, what you do shouldn't be done. Yep. And so, like, how much money are you saving if you're just pushing bureaucrats out the door? And doesn't have to be too rude. As we said, 75,000 folks have taken them up on the 8-month severance, which is quite generous. I wonder how many could retire early. Full benefits, like you served the U.S. government. Thank you for your service. Now go do something else. Enjoy your retirement. Do a road trip or something. I think that saves money in an indirect way because you don't have too many folks promulgating all these rules and regs just because they're there and doing the job.
I think you got to look at the entitlement programs. We're really looking to cut a whole bunch of waste. And there's so much waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid and Social Security and and I've heard justification for the illegals being here like, oh, well, some of them pay into Social Security and they'll never be able to collect on it because they're illegals. Are you sure about that? Because I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of illegals getting Social Security benefits.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think there is a stunning, this was at the DOGE hearing. You know, Elon pointed this out 2 days ago, that as they're looking at those Social Security payments, there's payments where it doesn't even say who they paid. There's payments where it doesn't have there's a comment section. You would know this better than others. There's a comment section like, why was it paid? That's not filled out.
Oh, yeah.
And then the kicker is there's a whole list that takes a while. It's pretty tough to get on. The do not pay list. The people on the do not pay list still getting paid.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the whole idea is complaint minimization. Like if you just process all the payments, nobody's going to make a big stink about it.
Right.
So, yeah, if nobody's making a big stink, you just keep on doing your job.
Yeah.
And like if you actually do your job, the heat will be brought. Well, this one guy named Haywood Talcove, CEO of LexisNexis Special Services, testified in front of the DOGE subcommittee. He wants to implement robust ID verification. And the number he throws out there of how much just a basic, like, verifying where payments are going, how much it could save the taxpayer. This is without reforming Social Security, which we were always told we got to reform, change the age or whatever. Raise the withholding tax for people making over 100, 200 grand, something like that. No, listen to this guy.
How much money do you calculate is wasted due to waste, fraud, and abuse in the entitlement programs each year?
Yeah, my number right now between federal, state, and local government is you can save $1 trillion a year by simply putting in front-end identity verification, eliminating self-certification, and monitoring the back end of the programs that are providing the benefits. Those three things.
Nuts.
That's 1/6 of what we spend in an entire year.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's remarkable. Like how much is, and this game of the New York Times is like, Elon Musk says without evidence there's waste and fraud and abuse. And it's like Biden's own government accountability office estimated hundreds of billions just last year. And that was their estimate.
If Biden had found this, they would have said, wow, what a great cost cutter. This guy's really doing his job.
It's just absurd. Here, we got to hit a break. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And they're at Pest Pro. Ashley and that fantastic team are ready to help you get ready for the changing of the seasons. And that means things like mosquitoes. They can come out, start at a great cheap price, and treat your yard monthly. So you can actually enjoy your backyard. Instead of having to spray yourself or grandma with chemicals, why not just treat the yard instead? It'll actually work. Or maybe you're worried about termites. That could be right around the corner, especially if you hadn't had an inspection or treatment done in a while. Pest Pro Services is great to go with for termite treatment, or maybe you have new construction. They do a lot of those working with new construction clients, so the whole property is treated before you actually start even laying down the foundations. They do residential work, of course, but also commercial services. If you own a small business in the area, you got to go with Pest Pro Services. Great skilled professionals, but also great local people. So when you spend your money with them, it's staying here in the local economy. Call them up today at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and that fantastic team that Joey, the fellow on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
What'll it be, Joe?
Coffee and apple pie. Whoa, Madge, what was that?
The lights? Oh, they always dim when the dishwasher turns on.
You should call Crosby Electric.
You think?
Overloaded circuits at your business can be dangerous. The experts at Crosby Electric can upgrade your electrical service to safely handle the load. And they can add receptacles where needed to eliminate overuse of extension cords.
Madge, I'd like to pay you. The problem is it's so dark in here I can't read my bill.
No, the problem is you're cheap.
Well, that's a problem too.
Effective, attractive lighting is essential for any business. Crosby Electric can help with a new lighting scheme that will give your business a fresh, exciting look. And they can recommend outdoor lighting for greater safety and security.
That'll be $4.50 for the coffee and pie, Joe.
Well, don't I get anything for recommending Crosby Electric?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Don't put off essential electrical upgrades for your business. Call 272-2085 or visit crosbyelectric.com.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Rich Thomas weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where over-the-road dump truck drivers are needed right now. Home twice a week and every weekend, must leave early on Sunday with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call them now at 855-777-9785.
Well, hi, everybody. Things are improving as the shower threat moves out of the state, and I think we could even see a little bit of sun before this day is over. Cooler today with a high in the mid-60s. Partly cloudy, colder tonight, overnight low 36. We should see a decent amount of sunshine on Friday with a high up to about 64. Then warmer Saturday with a high around 75. Risk of showers begins in the afternoon, but showers and locally severe thunderstorms Saturday evening and Saturday night. And again, another tornado risk. We'll be watching this storm system carefully, of course. Then sharply colder behind it on Sunday and Monday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More is your low price leader for everything you need for flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies. For the best prices on luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, flooring installation supplies, and more, shop Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Adams Drugs has been committed to the health care of the people of the River Region for over 62 years. We value the trust each customer has in our pharmacists, techs, and entire staff. If you have not experienced the difference of Adams Drugs and are not satisfied with the customer service that you get in the big box stores, we invite you to visit any of our locations and see how committed we are to your satisfaction. Adams Drugs offers a variety of services that you will not find in all pharmacies in the River Region. Personalized compounding, area-wide delivery, wellness screenings, immunizations, medication consultations, and specialized packaging, just to name a few. Visit us at our website, adamsdrugs.net, and find the location nearest you. Adams Drugs has 12 convenient locations to serve you. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Adams Drugs is your local Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the River Region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
For more information, send an email to digital@bluewaterbroadcasting.com.
Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop. Listen every Saturday to Winning Wellness and learn from experts in different fields of science and technology how nutritional supplements can help you.
Listen to Winning Wellness every Saturday at 10 a.m.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACB.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Sorry, I was just looking at some of the comments rolling in online. One guy saying, my wife works for corrections in the offices. The stories I hear about the lack of help and power players in charge. That's all he says, but...
Wow.
There you go. And that's one thing, too, I love about this this DOGE moment. And this is my experience, and you probably have more than me in this, Andrew. The amount of state employees that do good work, that work in whatever department, agency, who do the job because this is what the law requires, but they think it's absolute wasteful nonsense, the process they have to go through in order to get that job done. They know we could do the job just as well, if not better, without having to go through a lot of the stuff we have to do.
You're probably right. And then do we even need 180 different state boards and agencies? I mean, that's how many we audit. I remember we call sunset bills, and these agencies come up for renewal every 4 years, or maybe if they've been a little naughty, you put them up for a 2 or 1 year renewal or something. And never in my life have I seen an agency, I should say my political life, the last 6 years, have I seen one not renewed. So I remember we had a day, I think it was maybe 2020 or 2021. We had one of these sunset days, and I voted against maybe 10 of the 20 that were up for renewal, like the cosmetology board and a few others. And so anyway, the funny thing is, I'm in the speaker's office a few weeks later, and we're talking. He said, "Hey, I got contacted by the whatever board. I forget which one it was." And he said, "Hey, why did Sorrell vote against our renewal?" Speaker said, "Oh, I'm sure it wasn't that he, doesn't think you should exist. I'm sure he had some specific problem with your agency or whatever." He said, "I assured him that you didn't mean that you actually didn't want them to exist anymore." And I said, "That's exactly what I meant. Why did you tell him that?"
The record actually says they shouldn't exist.
And it's one of those things I know since I've been on radio that a lot of conservatives, a lot of small government folks been like, yeah, we have too many of these things. We need to get rid of them. And then it's just, constant renewal. It stays there. And it's amazing how difficult it is to claw back like some liberty and freedom and cause once the government has something in place. It seems it's always been this one-way ratchet to more, and you can never pull anything back. And I look at Alabama, and I'm not one of these technical guys that would be brought in on DOGE. I'm a jackass on the radio, pardon me. But I pay attention enough to where I'm like, clearly these institutions could be reformed top to bottom. There's a lot of stuff in there that I'm sure people aren't even aware of on the books. And we do need a garbage collection system in the state. Not literally, but you know what I mean, in terms of rules and regs. So maybe we'll get around to that with a new governor. And I think a competitive governor's race in 26 would be a very healthy thing for the
Well,
state.
I read your op-ed on that too. And, a lot of people out there like Ainsworth. I'm one of the people who likes Ainsworth.
I like
have a
Ainsworth,
Good
yeah.
relationship with Ainsworth. I've been friends with him since 2015. I've watched his political career progress, and a lot of people think he's, going to be the next governor. But yeah, your point about we haven't had a true primary since 2010.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, where the outcome wasn't basically predetermined. The last time we had that was 2010. And does Alabama deserve to have that? Because I think if you'd asked, who are we going to elect for U.S. Senate back in, let's say, 2018 or so, who would have said Tommy Tuberville?
Nobody.
Nobody. That wasn't on anybody's radar, right? It was going to be Sessions was running again, or maybe I forget who the other player. Bradley Byrne was in that race.
Luther Strange got appointed, so he was kind of in that, and that was the whole Roy Moore cycle, right?
That's right. Well, Roy Moore beat him in that 2017 special primary, and then lost the general, so he wasn't running again in 20. But nobody would have come up with Tommy Tuberville. But because we had an open primary, that's who we ended up with. And you know what? It's been great. He's actually done a really good job for us. So I do kind of feel like Alabama deserves that.
Yeah, and we'll see, because I just, again, I try not to take this stuff personally or mean it personally, but I look at sort of especially when I look around the governor's office, and then you look at leadership in both chambers, and it's folks who've been there a while, like staffers too. And again, I don't mean this as like y'all are bad people or whatever. I mean, like you need new eyes and just a new sense of like we're changing things.
We want competitive markets. Why wouldn't we want competitive campaigns? Fresh ideas, iron sharpening iron.
Right.
The best version of conservatism that we can get.
Nothing brings you back down to home like having to run a tough re-election campaign. Like it's going to get you back in your district. You're going to make sure you care about what your local firefighters want and stuff. If you're unopposed to re-election, you just have token opposition, you don't really have to do much.
No, I got to hit this before Jeff Dye's joining us a little after 2:00. Former chief of staff for Ron Paul and president of the Mises Institute for about 10 years there in Auburn, Alabama. And he's still going strong, posted a lot on the X, and keep in touch with him. Look forward to talking to Jeff here in a little bit. But how's it going trying to convince your fellow colleagues in state government about the virtues of something like Bitcoin and maybe a strategic reserve, and whether it's dealing with the legislature or talking to Treasurer to Young Boozer? Like, I mean, how's that going trying to convince them?
So I asked Young Boozer a couple months ago, I said, is it legal for the Penny Trust Fund, which I serve on with Young Boozer, would it be legal for us to take $100,000 of that money and purchase a Bitcoin with it? first time that the state, any state, has purchased Bitcoin. I wanted to be the first. And he went and dug into it. Unfortunately, it's not.
It's not on the charter.
No, it's not. It's against the law. We would have to actually have a constitutional amendment to change it because the penny trust fund was established by constitutional amendment. But I don't think Boozer is a huge crypto guy. I don't think he would, mind me saying that. Now, how's it going with the legislators? Pretty well. I was talking to Troy Stubbs yesterday in the state house. I understand that James Lomax is very interested in crypto. And I had Mike Shaw drop by my office yesterday. We probably were in there for 45 minutes talking about 3 or 4 different crypto bills that he is considering. And my advice to him was drop them all. Get all 4 of them and make one of them a Bitcoin reserve, because that's what people want. That's the headline. That's the headline grabber. We're going to buy 10 Bitcoin. We're going to buy 100 Bitcoin. What at a price not to exceed X dollar amount, and drop the bill. And does it pass this year? Maybe not, but I told him my strategy would be similar to what I did for constitutional carry. The first year, just get you 3 or 4 co-sponsors. The second year, I want to see 17. Third year, we're at 28. And the fourth year, we're like 50. And by that point, it's going to be so popular, it'll go through. But it takes time. To each one of those constitutional carry co-sponsors I got, I would say I averaged 1 to 2 hours spent with each person. Some people, it was 20 minutes. Some people, it was 6 hours over 3 years to get them to co-sponsor the bill. That may be the kind of effort that it's going to take, and the level of explanation it's going to take to get them comfortable with it.
Well, and just since we talked, that whole announcement of a sovereign wealth fund for the United States, and they're going to have Howard Lutnick run it, who will be the Commerce Secretary, Treasurer Secretary Besant, will be standing it up. But apparently, Lutnick is huge into the crypto world. I think his firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, has come up with the innovation of packaging Bitcoin in underlying commercial loans.
Wow,
So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess the idea would be somebody has an old apartment complex in Philly they want to buy and they want to renovate and change it up. So this firm would give them a loan, like get rid of old mortgage, money to stand up and add improvements, and then extra money to purchase like 3 or 4 Bitcoin and package that as the underlying asset. And the idea is to make it more secure for the person giving the loan. And also, and you can't get rid of the Bitcoin until like 4 years, something like that. So it's a way, though, to kind of add Bitcoin to these actual hard assets to make lending and developing things a more solid deal. And their thought is Bitcoin's going to be very volatile in any given short term, but over the duration of a loan, no, it's kind of it's a sure thing is the way they view it, that they'll get return.
That's a very interesting idea, because if you tried to sell a package of just Bitcoin, basically just like Bitcoin derivatives, it's going to be wild. But if you package it with real estate, and the volatility would be a lot less.
Where in the transaction would it be taxed?
Where would it be taxed?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like how would that be determined?
I'm just going off. I watched a CNBC segment with the Cantor Fitzgerald CEO. I don't know.
You know, once government has any sort of hook
well, that's
in
the
any
question,
way.
and this is why that whole crypto council is being set up. It seems like the United States federal government is definitely moving in that direction.
You just gave me a new bill idea. We're not going to do NIL. We're going to exempt crypto from all taxation.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
I think we get a lot of people on board with that.
Yeah. No cap gains. Be like, hey guys, it's all in the up and up. Sorry, Securities Commission. Y'all are good people. Like,
So long
actually, they were very great early on in a lot of the scams in crypto, and there are a lot of scams.
They still
out there.
are. I contacted Amanda Sen probably 3 weeks ago, and I said there was somebody in Muscle Shoals who was getting scammed on crypto, and I connected her, and she put a stop to it. The Alabama Securities Commission actually does a really good job.
Yeah, they do.
On the statement of economic interest, is there a different subcategory for crypto now? Do we?
No.
Okay.
Hey, let's go to Papa B real quick. Hey, Papa B, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. The problem with Auburn's football recruiting is we ran out, after we paid Cam Newton, we ran out of money. Well, we didn't.
That's not true. Y'all print money over there, man.
Well, okay, we didn't have the willingness to spend it on any players, though. So we had to pay off all these legacy coaches. That's what we had to do. I mean, I promise you, we got more coaches on tap than anybody in any other school, probably. Anyway, so, the Republicans, the Rhino Republicans, yes, I'm talking about you, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, They never cease to amaze me. I'm telling you, they let all of this corruption take place. They let programs, the DEI, LGBTQ, all of that just rampage through the social fabric of the country. And you couldn't get them to say a mumbling word. But now here is the president with a clear mandate, and they have a problem with it. In this way, they've proven that they can swallow a camel but choke on a flea. They just can't process it for some reason or other. And the only thing I can come up with, the only reason I can come up with, is they're part of this corrupt bargain somehow or other. It was said back several years ago. I think it was right around Trump's first, term, that the only person that had not been corrupted was Jeff Sessions. He was like the last Boy Scout or something. But the rest of them, in some shape, form, or fashion, had. And it's not like, okay, you're going to get this grant, person X, and then you're going to kick back to me so much. Although that does happen a lot, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like you take some of that and you send it to my foundation, or you send it to my campaign.
Or you take care of my spouse or my brother or something like that.
Yeah. Or the big guy. You can take care of the big guy.
Yeah, the big man. Who's the big man, Joe?
By the way, there is no Boy Scouts anymore. It's Scouting America now. So,
which is another thing.
Yeah, we could get off on that too. Let me tell you what ticks me off about Mitch McConnell, and you brought this to my mind. Now, Mitch McConnell, he runs the Senate with an iron fist, and I know how these things go. If you vote against the caucus, like they're twisting arms, they're trying to get your vote, right? And he twists arms for many years, majority leader. And then as soon as he's not leading it anymore, what does he do? He bails on the caucus. The whole rest of the caucus votes for nominees, and he votes no. Like, what a hypocrite.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd.
And he's from my hometown of Sheffield,
bitter.
Alabama.
It's so bitter and like sour grapes at this point, I think,
it is.
with him.
Well, maybe we're going to find out some things about all these cats, too. But I am very excited to see Pam Bondi and the rest of that crew get in there and really start figuring out and putting all this math together about where the money went and who it went to, and get some folks in jail, man. I tell you what, I don't want to see them just talk about it. I want to see them do the frog march. Anyway.
Appreciate it, Papa B. And maybe we'll have time later in the program, but the media literacy of also all these folks, like Lee Zeldin's video he put out at the EPA is fantastic, talking about the gold bars the outgoing administration was throwing over the Titanic. And again, you have Elon to repost all this stuff and push it in front of millions. Doug Collins calling out a lot of stuff, saying, their DOGE is taking rid of, they're getting rid of VA benefits. And he's like, this is absolute nonsense. But you see Pete Hegseth, you see Kristi Noem, this press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, is doing a fantastic job. And they're all young, good looking. It's a very wise choice so far. Now, of course, mistakes will be made, but I think this is it's a new day in Washington, and I don't think the establishment knows what's hit them just yet.
Speaking about gold bars, Senate Bill 130 just got introduced last week by Senator Melson, establishes gold and silver as legal tender in Alabama.
Here. I'm all for
We
that.
need to pay attention to that one. It's not compulsory, doesn't require any business to accept it, doesn't require any individual to use it. It's voluntary, but it does give it legal tender status.
Didn't the state of Tennessee set up its own state reserve of gold?
I don't know. I know that Texas has a gold depository.
Yeah.
I don't know about Tennessee.
Well, and apparently there's been a lot of gold inflows in the United States lately, too. Almost like some big players maybe at the national level are buying more.
Somebody's buying it. It's up to $2,900.
Yeah. Maybe have some do that sovereign wealth fund. Maybe. I don't know. There's a lot moving very quickly.
I want precious metals and Bitcoin in that.
Here. This part of the program, in fact, the entire hour, brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon can help you, whether you're looking to buy a home or refinance that home. If you're buying, they can walk with you every step of the way from pre-approval all the way to closing day. And if you're looking to refinance, especially if you've got a mountain of credit card debt on your back, you're paying just minimum payments at 24%, 29%. Even if you're refinancing at 8% on your home, single digits are better than double digits. I'll just put it that way. Or it could be you're looking to reinvest in yourself, your property, your family. They can help you whatever your goals there at Alabama Home Mortgage. So call them up today. Just starts with a conversation. 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. We'll be back with Jeff Deist after the break.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. The Senate voted 72-28 today to confirm Brooke Rollins' nomination to serve as U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. And a Senate panel advances the nomination of Kash Patel, President Trump's nominee for FBI Director. President Trump's border czar, Thomas Homan, has met with New York City Mayor Eric Adams as the administration pushes for more help detaining and deporting people accused of crimes. Adams says he favors loosening sanctuary policies in the city. The New York Jets announcing they told quarterback Aaron Rodgers that they're moving on without him next season. The 41-year-old Rodgers has not said whether he intends to continue playing for a 21st NFL season. Stocks are higher, the Dow up 340 points. This is SRN News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-885-3333. That's 800-885-3333. 800-885-3333.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by the Harriet 2.
Love is in the air on the Harriet 2. Bring your special someone to experience romance while cruising the Alabama River. Enjoy dinner while taking in the sights. Dance to the music. Roses and champagne complete your evening. Book your Valentine's cruise at funinmontgomery.com.
Rich Thomas weather. Well, hi, everybody. Things are improving as the shower threat moves out of the state, and I think we could even see a little bit of sun before this day is over. Cooler today with a high in the mid-60s. Partly cloudy, colder tonight, overnight low 36. We should see a decent amount of sunshine on Friday with a high up to about 64. Then warmer Saturday with a high around 75. Risk of showers begins in the afternoon, but showers and locally severe thunderstorms Saturday evening and Saturday night. And again, another tornado risk. We'll be watching this storm system carefully, of course. Then sharply colder behind it on Sunday and Monday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
This is where legends begin. Saturday on the CW, a new season of the NASCAR Xfinity Series kicks off live from the iconic Daytona Superspeedway. Let's go win a championship! Reigning champ Justin Allgaier tried to stop Austin Hill from taking home his fourth straight Daytona victory.
I think that we could get the job done this year.
The NASCAR Xfinity Series, Saturday, live from Daytona, only on the CW.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson with the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. My last message was the report for 2024 real estate market in the River region. According to industry experts, they predict for 2025 we will have more inventory to choose from for our buyers, more buyers for sellers to show their houses to. Here are 5 tips for buyers or sellers in 2025. Number 1, sellers need to price their home at fair market value with the help of your realtor. Number 2, buyers need to be pre-qualified by a local lender prior to shopping for a house to save them time. Number 3, use a certified residential specialist or CRS to purchase or sell your home. Less than 2% of realtors nationwide have this designation. You need an expert now. 4, use someone with 48 years of real estate experience to help you with your largest investment. Number 5, quit waiting. Now's the time to buy or sell. Call Bo Goodson at 221-2883, The Goodson Group, or 551-0225.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is a Trump country. We live in the Southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid.
Oh, girl, baby girl. Oh, really? Don't even play.
Shut up, silly woman. Can you get a cloth, please? This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to the program here. A lot happening. I guess Trump holding another one of his Oval Office news conferences saying, I believe Putin wants peace. He wants peace. And it does seem like Trump is actually driving towards peace. I was a little worried with some of those cabinet picks, but it does seem they're actually giving it a good try here to get something done. And so much happening so fast in Washington, D.C. right now. It's hard to keep up. But joining us now, we have Jeff Deist. He is the... Hey, Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Hey, guys.
And for a while, you were, what, chief of staff to Ron Paul there?
Indeed, I was.
And so I bring that up again, not only because it's just cool to bring up, but Ron Paul's name is now being floated to run the DOGE, say, audit of the Fed. I know he's an elder man now. What, is he 89 years old? But
he turns 90 in August, yes.
Okay, but let me broaden my question. There's a lot of people you and I know, you may be better than me, in the, say, libertarian or recovering libertarian world, but from that world, that are now being constantly reposted by Elon Musk, massive audiences getting exposed to these ideas, even if it's only in a topical form on a given issue of the day. What is it like seeing this, say, new moment for a lot of these folks we know?
Yeah, it's nice to see Ron get his due, perhaps late, but get his due nonetheless. I think if you go back and look at U.S. politics, I mean, you can see the seeds of Reagan in Goldwater's 64 campaign. You can see the seeds of Trump in Ross Perot, and Pat Buchanan, and Ron Paul. So I think it is nice to be around to see that some of his many decades in the trenches actually bore some fruit, because Ron spent a long time being treated pretty poorly by his own party, and certainly by the other party as well. And he spent a lot of years in the wilderness building up lists of sound money people, traveling around the country to a lot of very small meetings and missing a lot of nights at home. So I'm definitely gratified on his behalf.
And it's not just this idea of cutting waste or cutting down whole departments of government. It seems that influence is also being felt a bit in foreign policy. As I said, open up the hour, I was a little skeptical seeing some of the appointments, but the stuff Pete Hegseth came out and told the NATO working group on Ukraine, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, at least.
Yeah, he's been great so far. I mean, there's a little bit too much of what we might uncharitably call attention whoring with some of these new appointees, but, where it feels a little bit more like show over substance. And Hegseth's got a little bit of that to him, certainly. But nonetheless, the rhetoric is, I think, what people voted for. People are very, very, very tired of seeing the enormous amount of waste in government. They're very, very, very tired of high prices for doctor visits, for rent, for mortgages, for groceries, for gasoline, for tuition. My goodness. So you can call it America First, you can call it nativism, you can call it whatever you want, but that is in fact what carried the vote in November, and so we ought to hold people accountable to that.
Yeah, and it does seem though that the usual forces, whether it's like the New York Times or the official Democratic Party members, or even say your neocon types, like your John Bolton types out there, they don't seem to have the same pull as they used to. They're making the same noises, but it doesn't seem to be resonating as it once did.
Well, and let's not forget that the end of history types, the Francis Fukuyamas, the John Boltons, the Bill Kristols, failed when given the opportunity after the fall of the Soviet Union to create what I consider a dangerous idea of a unipolar world, which is always going to be unstable. And there's always going to be challenges to it, whether that's China or Russia or whomever. But, nonetheless, they promised us a unipolar world run by the U.S., military bases in over 200 countries, trillions and trillions, not just in so-called defense spending, but foreign aid, the carrot and the stick, such as it were. And as a result, Iran and Saudi Arabia would, within due course, become Jeffersonian republics, and there'd be gay marriage everywhere, And of course, this is just a ludicrous pipe dream. It's not a unipolar world. It's going to be a multipolar world, and we've made it worse by antagonizing huge swaths of the Arab and Muslim world, certainly. And I hate to see that there's still a segment or a faction of the Republican Party that wants Trump to treat China as the new existential threat and enemy, put an aircraft carrier group in the South China Sea, for example, which is Tom Cotton's wet dream. This is still around. These impulses to rule the world are never going to go away. And there's something in humanity that just reflexively moves people towards abuse of power. So we really have to guard against it.
Well, and also something like, say, an aircraft carrier group. It does allow for a massive projection of power. Nobody else really has that capability. But given the technology that's changing, especially in warfare, I wonder how safe it is to have these massive ships. I know they have means of, say, putting things off and defending themselves. But if we're heading into a world where you have drone swarms, like this is a big, expensive, could be a very tragic mistake we're making if we keep doubling down on these this type of equipment.
Well, there's no question. I mean, if you talk to former military experts, they'll talk to you about fourth generation warfare, how rapidly it's changing. What does that mean for infantry? What does that mean for old-fashioned carrier groups with battleships and all that? I mean, that's certainly wildly beyond my expertise. But what I do know in terms of the budget process is that things at the Pentagon and with defense contracting move at really a glacial pace. And so oftentimes the funding for, let's say, a particular aircraft, a particular fighter, which costs, $15 billion for a single aircraft, oftentimes the funding for that was passed years ago. These are very long-term projects in terms of the engineering, the science behind them, the manufacturing, the testing. I mean, this takes a long time to bring something like a new aircraft to fruition. And during that maybe 10-year period, if warfare is indeed changing, then perhaps we get stuck with a white elephant at the end of the process. So it's got to be reviewed, but it's not enough to simply say, well, we ought to do, have this type of weapon instead of that. What really needs to be reviewed is our overarching policy, almost an ideology of thinking that it's our job to run the world. And I think that's a terrible mistake. And ironically, of course, despite the cries of our neoconservative friends, it makes us less safe when we do that because we're constantly poking the bear. And these days, the bear doesn't need to have a huge standing army or navy or air force. The bear can just simply be a crazy, disgruntled person with the intent to harm people on an airplane, with the intent to bring a bomb or a weapon, into a public place like a stadium, and increasingly, even certain kinds of, I don't want to say long range, but certainly mid-range weaponry has fallen into the hands of what we might call outlaw or mercenary or terrorist groups. So, this I hate to say it, but this boomer ideology of the unipolar America is going to get us all in big trouble if we don't quash it. And I do think Trump and some, not all, of the people around him understand this on some level and have sort of the right reflexes. People whisper sweet nothings into their ear, and certainly Trump is susceptible to flattery. We know that, but I think deep down the impulses are correct. So I think that gives me a lot of hope.
Jeff, even if you're a neocon, even if you believe we should be the policemen of the world, we should be in every foreign conflict, we should have troops in all these countries, do you not at some point think we can't afford this? We have $36 trillion in debt. And I guess, one quick way we could undo all of the work that the DOGE has done is to get in another war, right? That would undo it really, really fast.
Yeah, that is so true. And of course, I think that's the plan. That's the plan by certain people who think that we need to constantly be provoking, to impose our will. I think there's no question about that. There are people, and not just, let's say, crazy warmongers. I think that's sometimes an unpleasant thing to call someone. But I mean, there are serious, sober people who think that we should directly engage Iran. We think we should directly engage China over Taiwan. We think we should directly engage Putin over Ukraine. And what I mean by directly engage, I mean is like ships and planes and boots on the ground. And we cannot say in good faith that all of these people are crazy, or that all of these people don't understand the situation on the ground. Some of them are rational, smart, educated people with a lot of experience. It's more than that. I think it's the fumes of the post-war consensus coming out of World War II that is still with us today. And let's not forget, a lot of not just corporate America, but really our political America is still run in surprising part by baby boomers, for whom the post-war consensus, I think, is just like poured in concrete in their brains, cannot be changed. And I really think the U.S. House, for example, should be full of 30 and 40 somethings. I think the U.S. Senate should be full of 40 and 50 somethings. But instead, we have both of them full of 70, 80, and even 90 somethings. So, maybe some of this is just going to be a function of new generations coming in.
There's one 89-year-old I would like to see back in Congress, though, and that's Ron Paul. And I remember watching Ron Paul years ago in the presidential debates. And at the time, I would call myself a George Bush Republican. But I just started voting. I didn't really understand all the issues and everything. I was kind of like a George Bush Republican. I remember watching this guy speak and thinking, he's crazy. And then 4 years later, we're watching him do it again. And I turned to my brother one day and I said, he doesn't really sound crazy anymore.
Right.
He actually is making a lot of sense on a lot of issues.
Well, let's not forget when W entered office in 2001, the total U.S. federal debt was about $5 trillion.
Wow.
Versus 30 something today. So there was still an opportunity, maybe not politically, but mathematically, to solve the entitlement debt issue through certain, spending cuts, tax raises, whatever that calculus might have looked at. It was still possible mathematically. Okay, so three things happened in the early 2000s, and I blame W vociferously for all of them. Well, not the occurrences, but his reaction. First was 9/11, of course, which sent us into Iraq and Afghanistan to the cost of many trillions of dollars over the next, still ongoing, but certainly over the next 10 years. The other was the tech stock bubble crash, which sent then Alan Greenspan, later his successor Ben Bernanke, into hyperdrive in terms of allowing the Federal Reserve to cover congressional deficits by effectively papering over those deficits. And then finally, the Medicare Part D prescription drug benefit, which was passed to help George W. Bush appeal to seniors and beat John Kerry in 2004, is enormously expensive in terms of actuarial futures. It's going to cost far more to provide a drug benefit over decades than the actual original Medicare, which is more about doctor visits. Oh. So those three things, the Fed going into hyperdrive, foreign policy going into hyperdrive on the spending side, and then domestic policy going into hyperdrive on the Medicare side. Those three things are what really made that debt line go almost vertical. And so there's no coming back from that. There's no paying off this debt in any meaningful way. So now the world understands that, and the world is playing a game of musical chairs. On the one hand, they've all got dollars, and they all have dollar-denominated debt, so they don't want to see the dollar crash. But on the other hand, they're tired of effectively subsidizing Uncle Sam's exporting of inflation, and as almost kind of a geopolitical or almost a form of warfare, they would like to see the dollar crash. So it's almost kind of a pregnant pause in all of this. Everybody knows that it's unsustainable, but nobody knows how it's going to fall out.
Well, and is there a particular aspect of the federal government, the bureaucracy, that DOGE is yet to burrow into, that, given your experience in all this, that you would just relish seeing them?
The Pentagon. That's going to be absolutely incredible if that happens. And, Medicare and Medicaid at the state level are unbelievably rife with fraud. Rife with fraud. The amount of bogus bullshit disability claims have absolutely skyrocketed in the last 20 or 30 years. So both of those things are going to be very, very interesting. I hope they happen.
And have you had time to look at, because I'm trying to wrap my mind around it, this whole sovereign wealth fund idea that I guess Lutnick and Bessent, what will be Commerce and Treasury secretaries, I mean, I don't know what to even think of it. In a way, it could be a good thing, I suppose, but what say you?
Well, it's interesting that, believe it or not, the largest sovereign wealth fund is Norway. They have used their offshore oil revenues to build up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. So they are able, with that fund, to do, among other things, basically provide a very robust welfare state for something like, I think there's only 5 or 6 million people in all of Norway. So that's roughly the population of the state of Alabama. So that's interesting. But right now, I think we need a serious and somber approach to the U.S. federal debt, and whatever that form that takes. My particular preference would be to see federal government assets, especially land, mineral rights, etc., sold to the highest bidder. So that should be job one. But I can't say I'm a huge fan of Bessent. I don't think we need another Wall Street private equity type guy. In fact, I think that's the last thing we need. I think we need sort of a sound money Judy Shelton kind of person at Treasury, but nonetheless, we've got him. He's obviously a brilliant guy, and I think he'll be an improvement over Yeltsin. But this I think how people get pats on the back from Trump. You come up with grandiose ideas. Trump doesn't want to hear about your 5% tax cut or something like that. Trump wants to hear you're buying Greenland. So let's hope it works.
Yeah, I've been saying it's like drinking from a fire hose right now, trying to cover every which little thing that's coming out. And in many ways, it's glorious and funny to watch, especially if you're covering it and kind of just watching it flow on X. But some of the wailing and gnashing of teeth, it is remarkable, the impotence of some of these folks. I don't think the regime fully understands what's hit them. And this is a strange example. I think you might get it. Like when the New York Times sits down for a podcast with Curtis Yarvin, and they're making this dark figure, and obviously Curtis has some odd ideas at times, but it's just like they seem to be completely ignorant of this world that is built up, and it's a new moment for the right. I'll put it in other terms.
Yeah, and it shows, I think, in very stark terms how little the left understands the right in this country, and how much of a bubble people in elite media circles, for example, live in. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. That Jane Goodall series, Gorillas in the Mist. Like you go to someplace like Alabama and you talk to these strange people who vote for Trump. And it's really pretty sad, pretty pathetic. I mean, Yarvin is not my cup of tea. And I think he is really a lot of regurgitated. Burnham, he's a lot of regurgitated Schmidt, some other thinkers, but nonetheless, I mean, this is so wildly beyond the pale for, let's say, your average New York Times reader or reporter that they almost have to pinch themselves. They can scarcely believe this exists, and that's really a bad sign for the country. People shouldn't be this disembodied from one another. And I think it's more than anything a sign that 330 million people is just too many to have under one centralized basic rule in DC. And that's why I think, when you do have an enormous country like India or China, it's almost per se has to be authoritarian in its approach. So I think the United States is getting too big to be one political unit. And when it comes to, let's say, your average New York Times reporter, I personally no longer care to be one political unit with this person. So bring it on.
Here. Well, I always appreciate your time, Jeff, and let's do this again soon. Thank you, sir.
Thanks to both of you. Appreciate it.
Again, folks, that is Jeff Deist. Always enjoy our conversations together. And, I mean, it's also like I could, in the middle of the interview, it's not like you're watching the interview, but the idea of where that guy was in the late 90s, early 2000s with Ron Paul, and to your point about how I was a sucker for rhetoric. Like my first election's Barack Obama, but I remember watching the Bush ones and I thought like, oh, Mike Huckabee, that guy's got a silver tongue. That I like that guy. And I always thought Ron Paul in his presentation was a little goof tree.
A little bombastic, maybe, yeah.
And now you look back and you're like, no, he's fantastic. And also think of the guy that was constantly the conservative guest that we brought on the McLaughlin Group or whatever talk show. Yeah. Pat Buchanan is the punching bag. And you're starting to see some of these ideas of these guys that were punching bags, that were the butt of many jokes. Well, who's laughing now?
What's all saying? First guy through the wall always gets the bloodiest.
Yeah, there you go. First guy through the wall always
now,
gets the bloodiest.
Jeff's idea about we can sell off our mineral rights, we can sell off all the federal government land, and we can pay our federal debt. Yes, you can. That works one time.
Right.
If you build the debt back up again, we don't have the land. We don't have anything. It is ridiculous. Some of these states, like Utah, how much land the federal government owns.
I agree.
You can't build anywhere. It's like 90% of your state's off limits.
Right. No, and you're right, though. You better have a change fundamentally in the way the system works before you even start entertaining that idea.
That's right. And the other thing you can do is you can buy Bitcoin, and hopefully that will help us balance our balance sheet one day.
Oh, no, seriously, that sovereign wealth fund, so it's not oil offshore, though we have plenty of oil in the country. I think the idea is use every asset that the U.S. may have. The gold inflows, as we were just talking about before the top of the hour break, I think Bitcoin is here to stay, and it's actually becoming grown up within the, say, mainstream financial institutions. It's kind of a crazy time. And again, to underline the other point, the Democrats, and I don't mean your average Democrat necessarily who votes, I mean the elite sort of tastemakers, the chattering classes, the academics, yada, yada, yada. I don't think they know what's hit them.
No.
They still don't really understand what one of these folks, because they immediately just go to y'all are Nazis, y'all are tyrants, y'all are authoritarians and all that stuff. It's like, no, we're Americans. We want a Congress. We want courts. We don't want a king. We want a strong American president who's actually representing the people and doing what he promised to do. It's refreshing for once. And all these guys surrounding Trump were Democrats in the 1990s helping out Clinton. So I think the mistake's on you. The darling of the left for a long time was Elon Musk. The mistake's on you.
Well, Trump was also helping the Democrats in the 1990s, just to be fair. So,
I think we saw earlier that those Democrats weren't like today's Democrats.
No, you're right. You're right. What wasn't Trump Chuck Schumer's first donor? I think I remember being true. But like Trump has come a long way. He's turned around, and there are people like Ronald Reagan, who used to be a Democrat and became the most conservative president we possibly have ever had. So
yeah, and Trump made that point after the swearing in of Tulsi, and he signed I'll sign your certificate, all right, and then we'll talk a little Tulsi. He's very casual these days, and as he's doing his big praise of her, and it was over the top and beautifully done, he goes, and former co-chair of the Democratic National Party.
Oh no,
we got a few of them in the administration. That's insane. And again, to show how fake some of these people are, Tulsi Gabbard stuck her neck out. She went to bat for Bernie Sanders. He didn't even have the common courtesy to give her a frickin' confirmation vote.
You're right. That's pretty low down.
Like for a while people were like, he's the Ron Paul of the left. No, Bernie is nowhere close.
I mean, I can understand if he was maybe 60. I mean, who is he beholden to at this point? How many more years does he have?
He's not even a member of the Democrat Party. He's an independent. He caucuses with the Democrats. He lets them kick him in the teeth in elections. They rig the election for Hillary Clinton. The files are released. We see the evidence that it's happened. And what does he do? He comes out and endorses her.
And let's not forget, today, just confirmed, Bobby Kennedy.
Yes.
RFK Jr., he's a Kennedy.
That's probably the best example.
In the Trump administration.
That was not on my bingo card for 2024.
I saw it early. I was going to vote for him in the Democratic primary in the state, just to have fun. Because everybody's voting for Trump, and I'm like, Trump's going to win it. And very early, and I had Jeff Poore and a few others look at me like, what the heck's going on, man?
You can't vote the Democrat.
Right,
Come
yeah.
on.
And but I was like, no, I'd listen to this guy. It doesn't sound like he just hates everybody, and he's trying a new thing. He's really is trying. You can find plenty of old clips of him being bombastic, but it seemed like this guy really cares about the big issues, the structural issues.
You know, the funny thing about the RFK is the big issue was vaccines and whether or not vaccines cause autism and all that. Is he anti-vax? Is he pro-vax? What is he? And he's like, well, I got my children vaccinated. And I think his point is that, I'm not sure he's saying that vaccines cause autism. I think what he's saying is that we used to have 1 in 10,000 kids with autism.
Yes.
And we now have 1 in 36.
Yes.
So maybe it's vaccines, maybe it's something, but it is something.
It is something.
Something we're doing differently now than we did 50 years ago.
Well, and when you look at Casey and Callie Means teaming up, the whole, say, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again movement, the figures they come up with, I don't have them right in front of me, but they're astounding. Like 70% of young adult males aren't fit to serve in the military, just on like physical status. You're looking at the amount of diabetes, the amount of heart disease, often in young children. Like, I mean, the problems that like fatty liver disease, that's something in like old drunks, and you're seeing it in kids. And it's, you just go down and you realize, oh, most of this stuff that's ruining people's lives. Think about how many people did die during COVID, and it was often with multiple comorbidities.
Correct. Yeah.
And so you have to think like, okay, what happened to us? And all this can be prevented with some basic health hygiene, for lack of a better term. And I think once he starts digging into NIH and starts digging into the nonsense, of course, today in Birmingham, 1819 News is reporting it, that a billboard's up there where it's Elon giving the Roman salute, giving his heart out to the crowd, that he's cutting your funding and jobs, Birmingham, and one slamming Senator Britt, like, raise your hand if it's only lip service instead of public service, and it's Katie kind of raising her hand, laughing. And I just... that was all in response to them saying, when it comes to NIH grants, we're putting a 15% cap on your administrative costs. Because often some of these were running into the 30% for administrative costs. It was absurd.
Wasn't there also $1.5 million grant to UAB to study like transgender sensitivity or something like that?
Yes.
Like transgender pain sensitivity. Do they experience pain in a different way than non-trans people?
I think the word, let me see if I, instead of just saying it, but I think the word vaginal was used. Let's see here. UAB, large recipient of NIH research grants, received $158,000 in a federal grant to study vaginal health for transgender men on testosterone.
Wow.
Wasn't there's
unreal
a strong UAB crossover on the Magic City Acceptance Academy?
There might be.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, and the group, and this is fitting, the group that put up these billboards is called Bright Blue Dots. So it's pretty clear. It's like, we're going to have our hard, bright blue enclaves within the deep red state of Alabama, and we'll run to our friends at the New York Times and CNN to talk about we're still being put down like Bull Connor's around. It's just, it's worn out. It's tired. We got to hit a break here, though, because I'm running out of time. All right. And I got some more ads. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. Hey, if you're a man and you have low testosterone, they have testosterone replacement treatment that can really help you out. Now, what might point to having low T? Well, you're never in the mood, number one. You have no sex drive to speak of. You have no motivation in general. It's not just about, what's that line, Lindsay?
It's not just about sex.
Right. It's about all motivations in life. It could be you're just not getting up and going. You have real no motivation in the morning. You're falling asleep after you eat lunch. Just always tired and run down physically and mentally. Also seeing unwanted weight gain, loss of muscle mass. If this is happening to you, whether you're in your 50s or you're 20-something years old, you need to go get checked out at Montgomery Men's Health. The providers there will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. And Montgomery Men's Health has low T treatments that can truly change men's lives. After treatment, men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym. Brother. That's right, brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, and you usually even notice an increased libido, more life force indeed. And you can actually book the same day that you call. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
1819 News.
Democratic state lawmakers were very much opposed to a bill that would ban drag queen performances in the presence of minors inside schools and public libraries. A public hearing was held on Wednesday regarding HB 67. That bill is being offered by Republican House Majority Leader Scott Stadhagen. The bill is being offered in large part due to articles that came out from 1819 News last year about a Huntsville father who was concerned for his daughter spending the night at space camp where a biological male identifying as a female would be in the same overnight facilities. The Democrats and transgenders who attended the hearing and were opposed to the bill downplayed that men pretending to be women is a harmful thing and declared the bill to be more harmful to life itself. Multiple stories by 1819 News about drag queen performances in front of children last year were then brought up by Republicans in that hearing. The bill did ultimately pass the committee. Despite Democratic opposition, it will now head to the House for a full floor vote. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Where I was living was not a great place to live anymore. I began to pray for a place to go, praying for all of these things that a 9-year-old would want. I wanted horses, big house with a bunch of people my age. I wanted parents. I wanted a mom and a dad. Before I even prayed it, the Lord had already answered my prayer with the Big Oak Ranch. Who would that 9-year-old be if she never came to the Big Oak Ranch? I would be trying to fight for survival instead of fighting to break a cycle.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
A man was arrested in Andalusia for violating the terms of his sex offender status. The man was found camping with 3 other women and a toddler in a homeless camp near a Walmart in that town. Authorities were conducting a welfare check when Edward Neff gave them a false identity. He's a registered sex offender in Lakeland, Florida. Neff is being held in the Covington County Jail without bond. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of H&H Carpets across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway, where right now you can get 1,050 square feet of carpet installed for $19.95 only at H&H Carpets in Montgomery.
Rich
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. We're enjoying this brief period in between storm systems. Partly cloudy, colder tonight, overnight low temperature 36. A good amount of sunshine, I think, tomorrow, with a high temperature up to about 64 for Friday. Saturday's high 75. The risk of showers begins Saturday afternoon. Then showers and locally severe thunderstorms beginning Saturday evening, Saturday night. Yet another tornado threat, and this looks like a pretty potent storm system. Then behind it, it turns sharply colder on Sunday and Monday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
You can make your ASE loan payment from your phone, anytime, anywhere. It's quick and easy. YourASECreditUnion.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Lender.
ASE Credit Union. Your life, your goals, your ASE.
The premier place the River Region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back. And well, just moments ago, this happened in the Oval Office. Let's listen in.
DOGE workers arrived today. Gavin Clagger and others arrived today at the IRS. Do you expect to close the IRS, or what are you expecting?
No, I don't expect it, but I think that the Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else. Just about everybody's going to be looked at. So it's they're doing a hell of a job. It's an amazing job they're doing, and you know that force is building these. I call it the force of super geniuses, but it's building. And you know they go up and they talk to some of the people about certain deals, and the people get all tongue-tied. They can't talk because these people get it. They're very smart people.
So DOGE has entered the IRS, apparently. Oh, that's just beautiful.
Talk about unelected bureaucrats. The Democrats freak out about, Elon Musk. How about the 87,000 IRS agents that were about to come after us?
Exactly. And now we're going after them. Here's a quote I was looking for earlier. I have mentors in the Reagan administration who came in looking for government ways. Those people were not technical. When they went to the bureaucracy and they asked questions, there are so many ways of obscuring and blocking and deterring. Elon got root access, and he went to the tech systems themselves. No one has ever done this. No president had ever had tech people around him. They went to the systems and they started finding things like, oh my goodness, these people who work for the agencies tried to confront them and say, no, you can't look at the systems. They're freaking out. It's very transparent. They went to the systems, they actually saw the payments, and the payments were going out to crazy stuff. There were duplicate payments to people with the same social security numbers and payments to people with no number. There are payments to Internews Network, which is training media all around the world on how to have a certain point of view. I think this is amazing, but people want to slow them down. Well, let's not. Let's not. The more they find, be like, you really want to defend this?
What about the question, though, that they asked Trump, do you plan to close the IRS? What kind of a question is that?
I don't know, because they have flirted with, we want the External Revenue Service with the tariffs or whatever.
I wish you would have just hit him with a maybe.
No, and Trump, by the way, Piers Morgan said this in a recent interview, that Piers spent over 100 hours with Trump. He was on Celebrity Apprentice. And he said that guy, who's, especially when the cameras are off, he'd never saw that guy he got to know on the campaign trail in 2016 or all the way through 2020. Trump was always this aggressive, bombastic guy, and he still can be. But after Trump was shot in the ear, Piers said, that guy I got to know for over 100 hours, he started showing up on camera. And he's that guy right now. He's very relaxed and can be charming.
Yes.
And can make fun of himself. He laughs more in public. They shouldn't have missed if they didn't want this guy to actually overthrow this government.
It's got to be so vindicating to come back to win. You feel the election was stolen from you in 2020, and it probably was. And then you come back and you win, and now you are term limited. You've got nothing to lose. You've got the majority of the Americans voting for you. Like, what a freeing feeling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You probably can be relaxed.
Let's go to Soldier Boy or Dr. Patience, as he's been waiting a while. Hey, sir.
Dr. Patience is in the house. First thing, real quick, and then I want to get to the meat of my call, okay? Here's how you can get rid of the IRS. All you got to have to do, like I've said for the last 10, 20 years, have a flat damn tax.
Yeah, or how about no income tax? That would do it, too.
You know how many jobs you can save? I probably can get my little home computer to send out the paperwork. if you've done just a simple flat tax. Get rid of the book. Flat tax, guys.
Yeah, I've heard
Too many
flat
other
tax, I've heard the fair tax. I like the no tax thing Andrew just said.
Well, I mean, what's wrong with a flat tax?
No, it's better than the system we have. I'll give you that. It would be a lot better.
Yeah.
It's too easy.
I mean,
It's too easy.
yeah, too easy.
Well, you
I
would
figured that,
have the accountant lobby would come out against it because they would all be, they would all
Oh,
be losing
yeah.
their jobs.
Oh yeah, we don't have jobs anymore because of this. We can't find the loopholes for you or anything. Here's the second thing I was talking about. Local. Did you see about the story about the governor's house?
Which story?
The one about I guess they're doing something. I don't know. A bunch of architects are going over there. Are they tearing that building completely down? The city putting money into it? What's going on?
You're stumping me.
Where'd you see
What's
this?
the story about it?
Oh, he's talking about the old hotel or
Governor's
whatever
house.
with the pool.
Okay.
I saw it on where was it?
The old hotel with the pool or the old governor's mansion with
No,
the
I
pool?
thought it was the hotel over.
No, it's the hotel on the bypass. Here's the interesting thing about it is it's got it once had the swimming pool the shape of Alabama.
Okay.
The hotel did?
Yeah, I got one better than that. It had horse stables. Where the hell they ride the horses at? And then thirdly,
Around the pool,
a
I guess.
9-hole golf course there.
Had
Except the
not heard
homeless
any of
people-
this.
And they're
Yeah,
renovating it.
That was in. It had a prior 9-hole golf course, had prior horse stables. It was the luxury in the Star of Montgomery, and I'm saying to myself, that all those homeless people that are living in those hotels up there, I hope they're enjoying that 9-hole golf.
Well,
Jerry, where did they put 9 holes of golf?
I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what do you do? I know you were patient, and I'm trying to be nice, but you stumped me. Congratulations.
Well, that's kind of hard to stump you because you're supposed to be on the pulse of what's going on in this town.
No, it is not difficult to stump me. My pulse only does so much.
Okay, but because I know it's been a big story for the last couple of years. Owner doesn't want to take care of it. They got to go to court. He's out of state. City's trying to clean it up, trying to take possession. They're behind taxes. And now, I thought I saw in the report $6 million. I thought, oh my God, here we go.
Yep.
Putting public money into a private entity, and that's not the world's best property part of town to put that kind of money in.
Well, just another day in Montgomery then. But I appreciate it, man.
All right, man.
Later.
Get back on.
272-9228. Throw in a local story in my lap. I'm not hip to every real estate deal going on here, an injection of money into the dilapidated properties of Montgomery.
I had not seen it. The only Alabama-shaped pool I've ever heard of is one at the governor's mansion. If there was one at a hotel, I don't know about it.
Yeah, it's the governor's house and convention center.
So it's called the governor's house. So it's not the governor's
okay.
mansion. It's the governor's house.
Governor's
okay,
house
he
and
found
mansion.
it. All right.
Okay.
Not prime real estate, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, that's just ugly from the photo.
I think we could probably hit a couple of 5-irons and hit it maybe after 3 or 4 shots.
Before I forget, this part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. Again, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Gentlemen, you still have time to get by Dillon Rings. They have an amazing selection to help you out, from high-end jewelry items to everyday jewelry items. You can get something beautiful either way, no matter your budget. And of course, maybe you want to do like, hey, honey, I'll take you in. We'll do some custom design work for you. We'll go consult with Josh. The guy's really talented, really skilled at what he does. And that could be sort of the Valentine's Day gift, starting that process. Of course, they do it all there at Dillon Rings, from spa treatments. So maybe you have a piece of jewelry you wear all the time, but it's worn out because you wear it all the time, and you want it to shine and shimmer like it's brand new again. They can do that for you. And of course, they do repairs, and as I said, the custom design work. So check them out today. Just get by 119 Brown Springs Road. That's just off of Atlanta Highway, sort of the back entrance to the AUM complex. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you. I got one more break here, and we'll wrap this thing up. Be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, But whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
No one wants to wait on service for an overhead door. With 20 years in the industry, you now have access to the best with All Access Overhead Door. All Access Overhead Doors offers prompt professional service at affordable prices on all service and new garage doors for residential and commercial locations. All Access Overhead Doors serves the river region and can take care of whatever you need when it comes to your overhead door. Remember, you have access to the best. All Access Overhead Door. Call and schedule an appointment today. 320-2440. And like them on Facebook. They sell the best and service the rest.
Hey y'all, this is Steve Kirkpatrick for Big Block Designs. I haven't always been a drafter. I grew up in the radio TV broadcasting business in Pensacola, which is why I know the value of advertising on Blue Water Broadcasting. And you know the first thing you do when you get in the car is turn on the radio. Blue Water Broadcasting gets results. Big Block Designs has grown because we advertise with Blue Water. It works. Want to grow your business? You should too. Have a better day.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones. Talk to Ray Bowles from Bradville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Oh, we're flying through the day.
Flying through today. Yeah, I was just sitting here with a customer talking about why we should not have legal marijuana in the state because it stinks.
Some
It really
people
does.
think it smells like perpetual spring. I guess it's the type of strain.
But it made me think about when we were 16. Most listeners, y'all, I have a twin brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we both worked at Winn-Dixie, and the rule was one of us be there all the time. They didn't care. Just when you get out of school, one of y'all are here until 4 to 10 every day. Well, they sent us to Greenville when the new store at Greenville opened. And apparently that lunch, the whole stock crew got in a car and lit up the wacky weed. And after, when it was time to come in, they opened the door, all that smoke bailed out of the car. Well, there's a policeman on the other side of the parking lot and thought the car was on fire. So they called the fire department. Well, you know how that goes. At that point, they got to take everybody to jail. So when the big wigs get there for the grand opening, it's just me and Ron in the store. And boxes everywhere. Nothing has been stocked on the shelves. Pure chaos. Yeah, that's why I thought I'd never touch that mess. I'm like, no, I'm done. I learned at 16 years old, you don't want to do that. It's better just to stay in the store and keep working, right?
Yeah, I thought you were describing the opening scene of Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke.
Oh, it was. It was total chaos.
You
Me and
keep
Ron,
on
we were
knocking,
like-
but you can't come in.
We thought it was hilarious because we didn't know any of them. We didn't really have a dog in the fight. It wasn't our buddies. So it's funny when it's not your buddies. When it's your buddies, that's a whole other story.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's funny. Hey, you still selling flooring and carpet?
We are. Like I said, I just finished one customer. I got another one waiting on me. So if you need a floor, call us 285-8117. We'll come out and give you that free measurement. Next thing you know, you got a new floor down. Just that simple.
And when you call them up at 285-8117, be sure to tell them you heard Ray Bowles on the radio, telling old tales.
Guys, have a great day.
Appreciate it, Ray. And yeah, I'm seeing now the WAKA story, city to tear down governor's house, hotel, and convention center. All right. I just assume that's a lot of Montgomery, that something needs to be done. So
I was on West South Boulevard yesterday, going over to eat at the Stockyard Grill or whatever they call that thing. Oh my God, there's like 3 hotels in a row that are just rotted out, falling down. I can't believe those haven't been bulldozed.
General rule of thumb, if you find yourself on Boulevard, anything is probably needed repair.
There you go. Now, a real quick note before we run out of time here. Last time I talked to you, you called in with Candace Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And she was a nursing mother. The child would not be able to feed without her directly nursing.
Mhm.
And still she was called into jury duty, and they put her in some filthy room.
Yes.
There had actually been another mother in the room, had written on the whiteboard that hadn't been cleaned off since that other mother was
Yes.
there. So where are we at with this?
Well, the whiteboard in the room have been cleaned. The county commission saw to that. I was with Joe Knight, the county commission chairman, Saturday morning. He assured me that he said that is the judge's area of the courthouse. We let them take care of that. But he said after the embarrassing news story, we got in there and cleaned that up ourselves. So I said, well, good. I appreciate you dealing with that. Then, the Supreme Court came out with the administrative rule change and exempted nursing mothers from jury duty for, I think they said 24 months. Then the question was, do we still need to do the bill? Administrative rules can be changed.
Right.
So should we get it into actual law? And the bill sponsors that I had recruited was Senator April Weaver and Representative Susan DuBose, and their opinion was, yes, we still need to do the bill. And I think that's probably the right call. So yesterday, Parker's Law, as it's called, Parker was the 3-month-old, now 4-month-old baby that the bill is going to be named after. Parker, his mother, father, and 3 other siblings were there in the committee meeting. We were at Senate Judiciary. Every senator in the room voted for the bill. Candace got up, told her story in about 60 seconds. Everyone already knew the story. It was probably unnecessary for her to even have to tell the story. But the bill flew through, and I've heard it's going to be fast-tracked through the Senate as well, and things are looking good in the House. So I think this story is going to have a really happy ending. The surprising thing is how fast government moved to fix this.
Yeah.
In 3 days, the Supreme Court changed the administrative rules. Now, the craziest thing was we had another woman call last week, called Candace Brown and said, even after the Supreme Court rule change, they are still telling me I have to show up to jury duty. Candace goes, what do I tell this lady? And I said, give her the phone number of Brad Mendham. He's the justice on the Supreme Court that fixed this. He wrote it and got all the other justices to sign on. And Brad called and took care of it. So we're still having to fight it.
That's nuts. And yeah, so I think a law is necessary, and that's great. I mean, I'm glad it's sailing through. And well, I have a little more time for again, I go home every afternoon now, and Trump's already done a press conference, and it's just more news for the next day. So here's a little bit of what happened today. So I don't just cover it tomorrow. This was again in the White House.
With Canada, there was obviously a delay in implementing those tariffs.
I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions.
Oh, he didn't.
And we'll see what happens. But it just sets up so good for them. Look, the people would pay more.
Governor Trudeau. Oh, no. He's having way too much fun. And people think, oh, he's just joking. I'm like, no, I think if he could actually, Alberta's some nice territory right there.
Listen, I would take Canada as long as they have a conservative half and a liberal half so we don't mess up our balance of power. I'll take it. I'll take Greenland.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody pointed out to me, said, you know how we get Greenland? Because 85% of the people of Greenland are opposed.
Trade.
Literally just trade them. What do you want to trade them? California? Do you trade California for Greenland?
Yeah, Mississippi. I mean,
no, they vote red. We're not giving them Mississippi. We'll give them
fair point.
We'll give them California though. But my friend said, just give everybody in Greenland $1 million and they'll all vote for it. And I thought, yeah, for $1 million they probably would.
Oh, what a crazy time. Also, Trump said by 12 o'clock, all the hostages need to be back. 12 o'clock on Saturday. Hamas has now come out and said, we're not doing that. And we're going to have a global protest. Well, Trump's like, well, all hell's going to break loose. So who knows what's going to happen?
Wow.
I mean, that just, like I said, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. But I'm enjoying it. And I really appreciate your time. For folks who didn't know, State Auditor Andrew Sorrell here all day. Really enjoy this every time you're here. And
thanks. We'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. And Byron, always good seeing you, kind sir.
Likewise.
And maybe Eddie will be back tomorrow.
Get better, Eddie.
He's a little under the weather. So it might just be myself and Craig Munger. Hey, you're welcome to join. I can text you if you got time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Please do.
Well, and one of these days I need to start bringing women on. But the problem is I got to figure out how to meet them.
Well, I'm not going to do it in here.
I was over at the State House for like 15 minutes and yesterday, and I saw some ladies.
And I'm like, them there.
Yeah.
A lot of the lobbyists are female.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Oh, that's
Who are you going to get to talk to the men?
Yeah. Who's persuasive? Oh, look at the time.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1.